Space-time transaction. Exchanging food for the elf princess at the start. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26. How's the effect? The most excited person at this time was the old man of the Shen family, who saw Shen Mingwen coming out with his child in his arms. Even though he had already guessed it, when he saw Shen Yingying's appearance, he still couldn't help but ask. The effect is very good. Great. Shen Mingwen, a man in his 30s or 40s, his voice was choked up at this time point. After answering the old father's question, he walked up to Su Yi and said gratefully, "Thank you, Mr. Su, for saving Yingying's life. I, Shen Mingwen, owe you a huge favor. If you have any use in my place from now on, just say hello. As long as I can do it, I will never refuse. Take people's money to eliminate disasters with them. It's not a matter of human nature." Su Yi waved his hand. People have already given you a lot, so there is no need to be greedy. I'll call right now and have someone transfer the money to your company account right away. After Shen Mingwen said that, he didn't forget to say to the little girl in his arms, "Yingying, it was this uncle who saved your life. Thank you, uncle." The little girl was not afraid of life, so she said crisply when she heard this, "Thank you, uncle, and thank you, auntie." The aunt behind naturally refers to Yuling, who has been following Su Yi. Others didn't know it, but the little girl knew very well that it was this aunt who made her suddenly feel very comfortable that night. It was then that she heard from her father that her condition had improved a lot. She told Shen Mingwen about this, and Shen Mingwen only thought that Yuling was Su Yi's assistant. The little girl mistook the assistant for the real owner and didn't care. Su Yi shook his head and said nothing, but Yuling gently squeezed Su Yi's hand after hearing the little girl's thanks. After receiving Su Yi's approval, he smiled and said, "You're welcome. Auntie hopes that, when you grow up, you will become a wise man who combines wisdom and beauty, and will be healthy all your life." As he spoke, his fingers gently brushed her forehead and finally pinched her baby fat cheeks. The fingertips flashed, and no one noticed. The elves are all about appearance. She thought the little girl was cute, so she planned to give her some gifts. Su Yi naturally had no objection. Shen Mingwen quickly finished the call, and not long after, Su Yi also received a transaction reminder from the company's account. There was originally 100 million Xianyu holdings in the account, but in the blink of an eye the balance became 800 million. After the money and goods were settled, at least in Su Yi's case, the two parties no longer owed each other anything. After finishing all this, the old man of the Shen family also brought up what he just said at the right time. After Shen Mingwen heard this and confirmed that the medicine Su Yi just now could really be recreated, he immediately agreed to the old man's matter. He immediately said that he could mobilize funds within 3 days and continue to invest another billion in Su Yi, and he did not expect to get any shares from the pharmaceutical company. I just hope that, as Mr. Shen said, the special medicine produced by Su Yi can supply their family of 4, that is, the old man of the Shen family, Shen Mingwen, Shen Mingyu, brother and sister, and the third generation Shen Yingying. Su Yi naturally had no reason not to agree to such a small request of 1 billion. After the two parties agreed verbally, they planned to wait for the funds to be allocated in 3 days before making a decision. This can be regarded as a buffer time left by the Shen family for themselves. Although Shen Yingying had taken half a bottle of medicine, she looked extremely healthy now. Even her hair had incredibly grown so long. In half an hour it's almost no different from a miracle. But without going to the hospital for comprehensive examinations, they still couldn't believe that cancer could be cured so quickly. So, even though I already believed 90% of it, I still couldn't help but keep a little room. Su Yi didn't think it was anything. If people really believe him without any brains and don't even do a physical examination, then there is something wrong. When I came out of Shen's house, it was already around 11 o'clock in the evening. The procedures at the villa are almost complete, and even the property rights certificate has been properly completed for Su Yu. But this villa is said to be fully decorated and ready to move in. But in fact it is not so fast. The real estate agent there has been organizing people to clean the inside and outside of the long-standing villa in the past 2 days and check whether there are any abnormalities in the internal facilities of the house, such as circuits, natural gas pipelines, water pipes, etc. if they have been out of service for a long time. Only after all cleaning and inspections are completed can Suyi move in. This won't take long, and the real estate companies in the villa area are quite experienced in this. Suyi will be able to move in by tomorrow afternoon at the latest. So he still has to stay in the hotel tonight. This is a suburb and there are no good star-rated hotels. After searching for a few times, I found an esports hotel that looked pretty good. And there is only one double gaming room left. What else can be done? Let's sleep in the same room. Fortunately, Yuling is very addicted to the internet, and it seems that it doesn't matter whether she sleeps in separate rooms or not. She didn't sleep anyway and spent the whole night playing games. When Suyi woke up the next morning, Yuling was still sitting on the edge of the bed playing games. Nowadays, the games she plays are no longer limited to simple things like Tetris and Match Game. She has actually started playing Peace Elite. And after being able to speak, he frequently communicated verbally with his teammates. That's Kyuku's top score. Suyi didn't know why she, a good elf princess, suddenly became like this, but he didn't mean to disturb her, just watched her play quietly. Yuling knew he was awake and was very rude. She immediately adjusted her position on the bed, put her head on Suyi's arm, leaned on his arms, and stared at the screen of her mobile phone intently to play games. Suyi, no, what are you doing so early in the morning? This is a time when all men have the heaviest yang energy in a day, and you use this to test Kadas. Which Kada can withstand such a test? Do you really not understand this, or are you pretending not to understand? Yi took her waist and whispered in her ear. Yuling didn't care and said while playing the game, I'm an elf princess and I have received royal education since I was a child. Suyi was stunned for a moment. So, there are many descendants of the royal family and I'm not the only princess. Because of our elf appearance, many races or countries will ask for marriage after establishing a certain relationship with us. Most of the time, the princess of the royal family is just a tool for marriage, and as one of the tools, I have naturally received relevant education. Yuling rolled her eyes at him. You don't really think I don't know anything about the things between men and women? White Lotus? Is that the word? So, what do you mean now? Suyi's hand holding her slender waist tightened a little. Yuling didn't say anything and played the game by herself. Not saying anything, of course, it means tacit consent. Wait a minute. The game isn't over yet. I'm going to eat chicken soon. It's okay, I can eat now. Chapter 27. It turns out that although Yuling was born in a royal family and had systematically learned these things, her theory can be said to be perfect. But she really had no practical experience. After being attacked by Suyi, who was far less powerful than her, she was defeated in a short while. In the end, she achieved her goal of winning the chicken dinner tonight. Both sides were happy after trying the taste of elves. Suyi also understood why elves were portrayed as heirlooms that all races wanted in so many film and television entertainment works. This is not only beautiful, but also has a different taste after a deeper understanding. Who can not love this? For the whole morning, Suyi didn't even go out, and he went there shamelessly. When he went out at noon, even though he had drunk the water of life and had a strong physique like an ox, he couldn't bear it and almost had to hold onto the wall to get out. On the contrary, Yuling looked very weak in actual combat. She shouted to surrender within a few minutes of the start of each game. But now she is still like nothing happened. There is no way. After all, he is a knight in their world, a fierce man who can take the head of an enemy general in a 1,000,000-man army as easily as taking something out of a bag. How can he be really exhausted because of this matter while eating? Suyi suddenly remembered something. By the way, is there reproductive isolation between humans and elves? Can they have children? Yuling, who was eating, was stunned for a moment, then rolled his eyes at him and said, now you know you are afraid. Don't worry, I know magic, as long as I don't want to get pregnant. Afraid? I'm afraid of nothing. Suyi was immediately unhappy when he heard this. Don't you see how much money is in my account? let alone giving birth to 1 or 2. I won't be afraid, even if you give birth to 10 or 8. Others are afraid of their girlfriends getting pregnant because the survival pressure in modern society is high and they are busy working to support themselves every day. If a girlfriend suddenly gets pregnant without taking safety measures, not only will you have to support yourself, but also your pregnant wife and the child to be born. What's the difference between this and the sky falling? It is said that loan sharks, mortgages, and family loans should never be touched. But compared to the last one, loan sharks are considered to have low interest rates. Who dares to have a child without a family background these days? But Suyi doesn't have these problems now. If you really have to fight for a whole morning and hit it, then just give birth. It's no big deal. Yuling didn't refute it after hearing it. She has now learned the language of this world, and with a lot of information available through the internet, she has already understood this world. Knowing that Suyi is not bragging, with his current financial resources, many things that ordinary people dare not touch are nothing to him. Humans and elves do not have reproductive isolation, but if there is no external interference, it will be more difficult for both parties to get pregnant than normal humans and elves. But this kind of mixed blood children will not have any defects. On the contrary, there is a great probability that they will inherit the common advantages of both parties. Children born from the mixed blood of humans and elves can often inherit the beauty of elves, or even more beautiful, and can also inherit the intelligence and agility of humans, as well as better cultivation talents. Well, I forgot to tell you that in our world, humans are recognized as the most intelligent and agile race, and are also the most powerful race at present. Among all races, humans are also the fastest in practicing martial arts and magic. The fact that humans here can create so many magical items in just a few thousand years also proves this point. Have mixed blood children such a big advantage? Suyi couldn't help but feel a little moved when he heard it. Glancing at Yuling's flat belly, he wondered if he should try to make one. However, Yuling said, but these mixed blood children don't live well in our world. We value bloodline there, and neither humans nor elves are willing to accept these special mixed blood offspring. Although they are talented and outstanding in appearance, they are a minority after all. They cannot be accepted by the mainstream and cannot obtain resource supply. Moreover, these mixed blood groups will not exist for a long time. Even if they intermarry, after several generations of changes, they will gradually return to their ancestors and lean towards one side of humans or elves, and finally completely integrate into the two races. This also leads to the lack of continuity of this special group, and it is impossible to form a new ethnic group, and naturally there is no competitiveness, so they usually live a miserable life. So Yi was speechless after listening to this. It is said that feudal ideas are not good. People are good looking, smart, and talented, but they are despised by both mainstream groups instead of competing to be accepted. This is outrageous. In our world, bloodline is very important. This can probably be traced back to where each race came from. Maintaining bloodline is the consensus of all races. Yuling shrugged. The Dark Elves who overthrew the rule of our elven kingdom also have extremely noble bloodlines than the elves. Otherwise, no matter how our royal family commits suicide, and how much suffering it causes to the people in the world, it is impossible for the country to perish, because no matter whether it is other powerful tribes of elves, or the high-ranking officials of humans or other races, they will not allow a coalition of elves with low blood to violently overthrow the royal family of the moon elves with noble blood. But the dark elves with noble blood can. Bloodline theory is actually one of the important reasons for the demise of our moon elves. Because of this thing, we usually have almost no sense of crisis, which is why we were defeated by the Dark Elves in one wave, when we had all the advantages. Which country and race in the world can take bloodline theory as the foundation of the country? Suyi felt it was a bit outrageous, but it seems quite reasonable when you think about it carefully. After all, according to Yuling, the Blazing Sun Empire, where he is located, has existed for more than 100,000 years. This is much more outrageous than the Blue Star without bloodline theory. He doesn't believe that this feudal dynasty has been ruled by wise rulers for more than 100,000 years. That is obviously impossible. And the fact that it can last for such a long time is obviously due to the tacit understanding of bloodline among the high-ranking nobles of the whole world. They tacitly reject anyone who may rise to a high position, but does not have noble blood. When it comes to the basic interest of bloodline, they will put aside their prejudices and unite to face the outside world. I have to say, it's quite magical. It's worthy of being a world with extraordinary power. Seeing that the topic was getting more and more off topic, Suyi quickly turned it back. So how about giving birth to a mixed blood baby for you to see? Ling blinked her big eyes and smiled. As long as you are willing, I can do it. By the way, the gestation period of elves is usually about 3 years, and sometimes it may reach 4 years. You can't touch me during this period, as she said, her eyes like water blinked at Suyi. That look doesn't look like an elf at all. This is simply a succubus. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28. Ahem. Forget it. He hasn't tasted enough of the elves yet. He doesn't want his happy life, which has just begun, to be interrupted because of his little curiosity. If he can't touch such a beautiful wife for 3 or 4 years, he will become a living eunuch, right? Don't even mention going out to pick some wildflowers. Where in the whole blue star is there a flower more fragrant than this one? At least a little bit. Thinking of this, he decisively changed the subject. By the way, those human elf hybrids you mentioned who are not welcome in your world, do you think it's feasible to bring them to Blue Star? If I remember correctly, you need to use points to buy trading cards to trade living people to Blue Star, right? Yuling was a little surprised. Didn't you say that? They are beautiful and smart, and they are all very talented. There must be no shortage of strong and smart people in such a group, right? Suyi asked back. That's true. Although their power is very small compared to the 2 major ethnic groups of elves and humans, if we really calculate, based on the average, the strength of these hybrids is definitely greater than that of the same number of elves and humans. This is still the result of a lack of resources for their cultivation. As far as I know, the strongest person in this group is a hybrid named Prayer. Her strength has entered the ranks of legendary strongmen many years ago. If she goes one step further, she will become a martial god. She is also a very famous wise man in our world. If you can really bring them all to Blue Star, you will definitely get a good group of helpers. They, after being excluded for a long time, if someone like you suddenly appears who is willing to accept them, they will probably be loyal to you. In addition, there are constraints on the trading platform. Moreover, this matter does not cause any loss to Wiwi. Mixed bloods are originally beneficial to all races and survive in the cracks. They are a force that she cannot use. Giving them to you can also exchange for a batch of resources. What you need to do is to think about how to obtain so many life trading licenses and convince the leaders of the mixed blood group. Ling analyzed it carefully and felt that Suyi's sudden request was indeed feasible. But no matter how you look at it, it can only be a long-term plan, and it is difficult to achieve in a short time. After all, this mixed blood group is a niche in their world. Compared with the big races such as elves and humans, the actual number is not small at all. Conservative estimates are probably in the millions. If you want to get all of them to Blue Star and count on the primary life trading license card with 10 points, Suyi will have to save points until the end of time. To achieve this goal, either wait for the membership level to be upgraded in the future to see if new permissions will be unlocked, or see if some special props with greater permissions will be refreshed and the points more in addition to those basic props. Otherwise, it is just wishful thinking. But it is still a good backup goal. People on Blue Star have their own little thoughts, and Suyi can hardly trust them completely. But these visitors from other worlds are different. It's not that they don't have little thoughts. They definitely have some. But unlike the natives of Blue Star, these people have been through the trading platform, and the contract is written in black and white. With the power of the trading platform, Suyi doesn't have to worry about them betraying Point. As long as they don't betray, everything else is easy to say. Just after lunch, Suyi received a call from Zhaoyan Point. He said that all the relevant procedures for Xianyu Holdings and Xianyu Farm have been prepared, and asked him if he wanted to choose an auspicious day to cut the ribbon and start work. Point Suyi didn't believe in this stuff and directly said that it's better to do it today than to wait for a day, so everything should be simple and start working today. Point as a professional manager, Zhaoyan has worked for many big bosses before. Point he is very clear about the obsession of those rich people with metaphysics, not to mention the opening of the entire group. Some real estate developers have to make the scene of digging the ground like a religious ceremony. Point then they have to come again after the foundation of the building is laid, and they have to come again after the building is topped. Point if there is anything else in the middle, they will continue to come a few more times. It's better to believe it than not to believe it. Point he is almost used to it. Point he has a lot of contact information of various professional Taoist priests and monks. Unexpectedly, he met a boss who didn't believe in this time, which is rare. Point Suyi didn't care so much. Even though he had really come into contact with the extraordinary power of magic, he still didn't believe in those things of metaphysics. He once saw someone ask a question online. The question was, if the technological civilization and the immortal civilization collided head-on, which side would win in the end? One of the answers impressed him deeply, and he agreed with it. If you think the other side is cultivating immortals, then you will definitely lose. To put it bluntly, whether it is technology, immortal cultivation or magic. Point in essence, it is just a different way of using different energies. In the end, there are traces to follow. Point if you really think that people's immortal cultivation has no scientific basis at all, and it is all based on metaphysics, and there is no trace to follow, then you're still playing around. Just surrender as soon as possible. Point so now someone came to tell him that there are people cultivating immortals on Blue Star. He believed it. Point but he couldn't believe those monks and Taoist priests who were cheating. Point in Yuling's world, the so-called god of law and god of war are just powerful humans or other races. They have nothing to do with the mysterious gods in myths and legends. When Suyi arrived at the farm, which had been closed for a few days due to integration, had just resumed work under Zhaoyan's arrangement. Point this season is the time when some fruits and vegetables on the farm are produced. After not picking them for a few days, many ripe fruits and vegetables have grown old or fallen to the ground. Point the loss is not small, but it is only a small amount of money for Suyi now, so he doesn't care. Point after a round of inspection, Zhaoyan, who met him for the first time, respectfully invited him to the chairman's office. Point the time was too short, and there was no time to build a headquarters building or something. The office was still the simple office building of Yuanfeng Farm before. Point after entering, Zhaoyan handed Suyi a list. Point a layoff list. Point the current Yuanfeng Farm was integrated from several farms before, and naturally there were many overlapping departments after the integration. Many redundant personnel appeared, so naturally a group of people had to be laid off. This was something Zhaoyan had discussed with Suyi before. Point the layoff list was also completely in accordance with Suyi's requirements. Those who were originally working in unimportant positions in various farms, needless to say, were all laid off. Point their relationship was with the previous boss, and they had nothing to do with Suyi, so he was of course ruthless in laying them off. Chapter 29. In addition to the relatives, those departments that are not so important, but overlap. Point according to their work records in the original farm period, only one department of the same type will be retained, and all other departments of the same type in the farm will be eliminated. Point in the redundant departments that are eliminated, the people who work properly can stay and arrange the retained departments of the same type. Point in the case of retaining only one department of the same type in the original farm, facing the sudden expansion of the farm, the original department staff is obviously not enough, so this can also increase staff and reduce workload. Point of course, all the above layoffs are only for marketing, management and other office departments. For the larger number of farm employees, Suyi means not to lay off and retain them together. These are the people working on the front line of the farm. To put it bluntly, they are basically honest farmers from nearby villages. The average age is over 40 years old. Point most of them come here to work to support their families, and they are all from farming backgrounds. so they are usually not lazy when doing things. Although the farm employees are somewhat redundant now, Suyi has thought about it again and again and still has no intention of laying them off. Firstly, unlike those office workers, many farm employees really don't know what to do if they lose this job. Although Suyi does not intend to help the world, he has not reached the point of competing with those poor people who dig for food in the fields for a few taels of silver. Moreover, these redundant farmers may not just be left to eat dry rice. If those magical plants are really introduced and planted at that time, they must be cultivated carefully in the early stage due to lack of experience. Yuling can't have so much time. Suyi will not let her deal with these magical plants in the fields under the scorching sun every day. It is a good idea to let these experienced farmers take care of these crops at that time. These redundant farmers in the farm may not be enough. Secondly, for the sake of stability, he doesn't want to make too much trouble and cause trouble. Suyi's current situation is that he is not afraid of the dragon coming from the river, but the local snake. With Yuling around, he really doesn't have to worry about being targeted by some big shot with all powerful hands. If he comes up with something shocking, he doesn't recognize any powerful people. Whoever dares to mess with him, he will make them disappear from this world. At any time, physically destroying people is the most deterrent. There is no one in this world who is not afraid of death. And Yuling happens to have the power to kill anyone on Blue Star, so Suyi is not afraid of big shots. But if he meets a local snake, it's really like a toad crawling on his feet. He doesn't bite people, but he disgusts people. He himself was born in the countryside, and he naturally understands the simplicity and hard work of rural people. But he also understands the rudeness in the countryside. The hired workers in the farm are all from nearby villages. He knows without thinking that if he lays off a large number of employees today, no matter how good his reasons are or how generous the dismissal allowances, forget about the future of this farm. If he really encounters this situation, he can't let Yuling kill everyone. This is his personal bodyguard and wife, not a murderer. So, in order to prevent these unnecessary troubles, and because he does have things on hand that need these farm workers who know farm work to do, it is better to keep the extra people for the time being. Of course, since they are staying, the treatment will naturally change. The farm used to pay these workers only 4,000 to 5,000 yuan a month. It sounds like a lot, but compared with their workload and work intensity, this salary is not enough. Suyi plans to increase the salary of the employees who stay. It is not much, that is, it doubles their original salary 8,000 yuan per month. And the messy contracts they originally signed also need to be changed to formal contracts that comply with laws and regulations, strictly implement the 8-hour work system, work 5 days and rest 2 days, and pay 5 insurances and 1 fund. The company provides food and accommodation, but since there is no proper dormitory yet, employees can rent a house outside by themselves and take the rental contract to the company's finance department to claim reimbursement for the rent. The monthly rent can be reimbursed within 1,000 yuan, and the part exceeding it must be paid by the employees themselves. According to Suyi's understanding, in this area on the edge of Jiangcheng, this price can already rent a very good house. For those locals who don't need to rent a house, he doesn't need to think about it to know that there will definitely be people who rent their own houses to cheat for rental subsidies, but he doesn't care. All as a welfare for them. In addition, there are various benefits, such as afternoon tea, supper subsidies and the like. The welfare level is close to those internet giants in the final analysis. As a boss, even if he can't get those magic crops, he will develop it as a normal farm. In this way, he will basically not lose money by giving benefits to employees, and when the magic plants from another world can allow him to quickly harvest the wealth of those rich people, he naturally doesn't mind giving employees more money. From the beginning to the end, he had no intention of squeezing money from these poor people, and his target had always been the wealthy groups. Suyi did not have the idea of helping the world, but he still had the awareness of making the people who followed him live a better life. Of course, he did not think that he could make everyone obey him just by giving his employees wages and benefits far exceeding those of his peers. There will always be a small group of people who will think he is kind after getting benefits, and will want more, and will make trouble if he doesn't give them. But this will only be a very small group. If they really make trouble, then Suyi won't even need to do anything. Those employees who have worked for him and got benefits will spontaneously come out. To protect him. Let the vested interests increase, and the few greedy people will naturally not be able to make waves. Looking at the new version of the employee welfare system that Suyi personally revised, Zhaoyan couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. After holding it in for a long time, he couldn't help but sigh. You are really the most generous boss I have ever seen. It's just a little money. This is only the treatment of the most basic employees in the farm. For the welfare benefits of other departments, you can formulate a corresponding form according to this standard and show it to me. Don't worry about spending money. How much money can be paid for salary? Suyi said casually. Zhaoyan naturally had no reason to refuse and quickly agreed. After giving these instructions, Suyi looked at him with interest and said, Manager Zhao is very capable and has done a great job these days. I wonder what position you hold in the Shen family, Zhao. Yan was stunned for a moment, then immediately reacted and said, Mr. So misunderstood. I was temporarily hired by Mr. Shen to handle these matters. After the employment, I have no more relationship with the Shen family. I would like to ask you to be the general manager of Xianyu Farm. I wonder if you are interested. Suyi said with a smile. I really want to, but I dare not ask. Mr. Su, you are too kind. Zhaoyan's eyes flashed with joy, and he said quickly. Although it is a bit of a waste of his ability to let him be the general manager of a farm. But he is very clear that the young man in front of him has another company, Xianyu Holdings, which now has a cash flow of nearly 1 billion. What is this concept? Many large companies with a market value of tens of billions or even hundreds of billions after listing may not be able to take out 1 billion anytime and anywhere. But Xianyu Holdings can. From his eyes, it is not difficult to see that Suyi wants to build Xianyu Holdings into a huge group. If he succeeds, he will be a veteran in the future. If he joins now. After seeing Suyi's financial resources and ambition, he will do this, even if he doesn't get paid. Not to mention that Suyi is so generous to those employees at the bottom. How can he, the general manager, not benefit from it? Chapter 30. Suyi himself does not have time to deal with these things on the farm. So he needs a tool to help him deal with them. Zhaoyan is obviously a good choice. As for whether this tool is loyal or not, it is not important. He holds the greatest power in his hands, and the profit and loss of the farm itself is not what he cares about most. Running a farm is just something that comes with his reasonable and legal acquisition of bulk grain and other goods. It is best to make money, and it doesn't matter if it loses money. If you lose money, just change a professional manager. As for where these things obtained through the farm will eventually go, it is difficult to hide it from the tool, but Suyi has a lot of ways to make him dare not tell such things. Even if Zhaoyan is really an insider sent by someone, he will not risk his life. It's just a few dollars a month. Why risk your life? What's more, there is actually no one who has this motivation now to bribe Zhaoyan to be an insider. The Shen family does have a little motivation, and they are definitely capable, but Suyi's relationship with the Shen family is not bad at present, and they have just established contact. He thought that if the Shen family had no problem with their brains, they would not offend him now. He personally finalized the welfare and benefits issues and appointed a person in charge. Suyi no longer intended to manage the farm. Before leaving, he just told Zhaoyan to pick some land with better conditions in the near future and not to plant any crops. He would try to plant a batch of special new crops, but he did not say what to plant. Although Zhaoyan was puzzled, he naturally had no objection, since the big boss had spoken. Anyway, if the crops grown on these lands did not grow well and lost money, it would not be his fault. After arranging everything here, it was night again. Yuling followed him as a decoration for a day. She followed Suyu, no matter what he did, and never said a word to outsiders. When it was time for dinner, she took the initiative to suggest, how about we go here tonight? As she said that, she took out her mobile phone, opened a video software, and found an advertisement for a restaurant from the collection. Suyi took a glance and saw that it was a restaurant similar to an ancient palace banquet. The per capita consumption was not high. In addition to the food, there were also some singing and dancing performances. In order to blend into the environment and gain a sense of substitution, some ancient costumes were even provided to the guests. Of course, he agreed without thinking. Point as for eating, he didn't have any requirements for food, as long as it was not bad. Point. If the per capita consumption was good, it wouldn't be too bad. Point. Moreover, he bought so many clothes for Yuling. But he had never bought ancient costumes. He also wanted to see what the effect would be on Yuling. Point. If the effect was good, he could buy more for her later. Wait. Just after agreeing, Suyi realized another thing. Didn't you follow me after going out all day today? When did you watch this video? During the day. Yuling blinked. There is a magic called Eye of Insight that allows me to see the location I want to see. After I use this magic on the phone screen, I can see the content on the phone. With another small magic, I can control the phone remotely. So you seem to be standing behind me in silence during the day, but you are actually watching short videos. Good guy. What kind of slacking skill is this? Yes, but don't worry, most of my energy is focused on safety, and I can react to anything that happens. Yuling didn't hide it at all. Oh, okay, just slack off. Who can do two things at the same time? The place to eat is quite far from this suburb, and it takes nearly half an hour to drive there. Point. This kind of restaurant sells not only food, but also services and performances. The charging method is of course different from that of ordinary restaurants. After Suyi asked a few questions, he bought the most expensive package. The food included in the package was not included. The package included the front row seat and the ancient costumes provided by the hotel. Point. He came here for this, so of course he had to buy the most expensive one. Point. Of course, it was the most expensive, but the per capita consumption was only 1,000, which was a drop in the bucket for Suyi now. Point. The quality of the clothes provided here was certainly not high, and the material gave people a cheap feeling. Point. But Yuling's perfect figure and face made up for this small flaw perfectly. Point. After putting on the ancient costume, she looked like a lady walking out of a painting, making people fascinated at a glance. Point. Although Suyi bought the same ticket, he did not wear these clothes. He didn't have the conditions. These ancient costumes are not suitable for modern men to wear. Forcing them to wear will only make them look out of place. Point. With his beardless white-faced appearance, he couldn't show any scholarly temperament. If he put on a full set of ancient costumes, people who didn't know would think he was a eunuch running out of somewhere. Point. This is not his weakness. Most modern men look like eunuchs when they wear this kind of ancient costume. Point. There is no way, in ancient times, who would not have a beard. It's so beautiful here. As soon as she entered the banquet hall, the decoration inside made the elf princess, who had seen a lot in the other world, sigh. How do you say it? How does it compare with the palace of the elves or humans in your world? Ling thought seriously and said, if we talk about magnificence, this place is definitely not as good as the human palaces in the magic world. Not to mention those imperial palaces. Even Weewoo's palace in Mengchuan City is much more luxurious than this one. The pillars in the hall are all made of pure gold. If we talk about simplicity and elegance, this place is definitely not as good as the palace of our elf kingdom. There are very few metal products in our palace. Most of them are made of some special magical plants. Even the entire palace hall is a hollowed out stump of a giant tree. And because of our long lifespan, our elves have great attainments in art. Every sculpture and every mural in the palace is a work of art that ranks among the best in the magic world. But this place is different. In terms of magnificence, it is not as good as the human palaces in the magic world. In terms of refinement and elegance, it is not as good as our elf palace. But it takes into account the advantages of both. It is both magnificent and not too vulgar. I understand. The humans over there are big dogs. They wear gold and silver and like to decorate the palace with sparkling lights. The elves are very particular and can make common things exquisite. Suyi immediately nodded in approval. But the next moment, he realized something was wrong. Wait, a pillar in Weewoo's palace is made of pure gold? How big is the pillar? Ling was stunned for a moment, as if she didn't expect him to go so far, but she quickly answered, I've only seen it a few times, but I haven't measured it. It's probably less than 3 meters in diameter and more than 10 meters high. I'm not sure of the size, but it's definitely pure gold. Warm tips. The website is about to be revised, which may cause the reading progress to be lost. Please save the bookshelf and reading records in time. Screenshots are recommended for saving. We apologize for the inconvenience caused to you. Chapter 31. Sir, these are the appetizers. Please try them. The waiter in ancient costume and veil placed dishes of exquisite side dishes in front of Suyi, but he was a little absent-minded, and all he could think about was what Yuling said just now. Point a pure gold pillar about 3 meters in diameter and more than 10 meters high, so there shouldn't be hundreds of cubic meters of gold. 1 cubic meter of gold weighs about 19 tons. 100 cubic meters, 1900 tons of gold. Damn. Less. The original offer was still too little. He never expected that we would have so much gold. This was really outrageous. Is it possible that gold in your world can be seen everywhere? Suyi asked doubtfully. Yuling, who was eating, thought for a while, nodded and said, actually, it's not that common. It's very difficult for humans to mine gold. Races like dwarves and goblins who are good at mining actually don't produce much gold. But we have a race there called giant dragons. They are also an intelligent race. While they possess extremely high intelligence, they also have almost the most powerful body in the world. This race loves shiny things very much, and gold is naturally one of them. It is not difficult for various races to mine gold on the surface, but it is not difficult for them to obtain it. Most dragons are not afraid of fire. They will enter the extremely deep underground through the lava of the volcano. It is said that there are various kinds of gold in the deep underground. Such gems and gold are from whence their gold is obtained. Many powerful people in our world are very keen on slaying dragons, not because these giant dragons have done anything outrageous and resentful. Of course, there must be dragons who have done outrageous things, but most of the dragons targeted by dragon slayers have never done these things. This race is extremely long-lived, usually Buddhist-like, and sleeps in its own cave most of the time. People are keen on slaying dragons. To put it bluntly, they covet the golden gems that the dragons salvage from the ground. Ling's words were unexpected by Suyi. Right. It sounds like these dragons are still victims. The normal plot should not be that the dragon relies on its powerful physique and talent to do all kinds of evil, causing trouble for one party, robbing gold, silver, treasures and beautiful women, and then being killed by the dragon slaying warrior who runs out of nowhere, and finally the dragon slaying warrior embraces the beauty. Did you return and get a huge amount of treasure? By the way, now you say that the gold and silver treasures of the giant dragon were dug out of the volcano by himself as a miner. Those dragon slaying warriors just killed people just to steal their treasures. Does this align with the core values of your wizarding world? Hearing Suyi's question, Yuling was speechless and said, why does the giant dragon want human beauties? As for treasure, let alone humans, the wealth of all other races in the entire world combined is not as much as that of the giant dragon. When some powerful human empires need gold and silver treasures, they will enslave some giant dragons and let them go to the purgatory under the volcano to find gold and other treasures. After all, dragons are magical creatures that live alone. They don't even form a tribe, let alone a country. For our slightly larger race, it's not too difficult to kill a giant dragon. Boy, this is really bad. The corner of Suyi's mouth twitched, and he mourned for a few seconds for this giant dragon who sounded bluffing, but in fact, could only be bullied, and then quickly said, I remember we called herself a dragon slayer before, so she got all her gold from that dragon. With her strength, she can slay a dragon. If you are stronger than her, wouldn't you kill a giant dragon indiscriminately? Yuling had a rare embarrassed look on her face. Not embarrassed for myself, but embarrassed for my best friends in the world next door. Actually, it was the swordmaster of the Blazing Sun Empire who killed the giant dragon. We just went to watch. The reason why she was named the Dragon Slayer was mainly because of her special status. Got it? Please type the brushed title for me. Suyi immediately nodded to express understanding. While the two were chatting, Exquisitely plated dishes were served one after another by beautiful waiters in ancient costumes. The taste is average, not terrible, but certainly not amazing. This was not what Suyi expected. The main thing about eating in this kind of place is the atmosphere, and what you eat is secondary. It would be really weird if it tasted delicious. But halfway through the meal, Yuling, who was chatting with Suyi, suddenly said, "There's a guy across from us who's been watching you. Look at me." Suyi was stunned for a moment, looking at you. Given Yuling's appearance, it's normal for people to stare at her when she's out. And Suyi himself, although his handsomeness far exceeds that of Peng Yuan and is comparable to readers, but what's so good about him as a man? It's sheer beauty. It's a man. It's the one in white clothes in front of you on your right. Well, there's no need to look for him. He got up and came over. Yi followed Yuling's guidance and saw a young man wearing a moon-white scholar's robe getting up and walking over. However, this young man was not staring at him as Yuling said. His eyes were always on Yuling, but he would glance at Suyi from time to time. I don't know what it means. Suyi narrowed his eyes, didn't say anything, and continued to deal with the dishes on the plate, not paying too much attention to him. Not long after, the young man came to the two of them. As expected, he didn't talk to Suyi directly, but said to Yuling very politely, "Beauty, you are so beautiful. Can you send me a WeChat message? I have a boyfriend." Yuling glanced at him and refused indifferently. "It doesn't matter, just be an ordinary friend. It doesn't matter whether you have a boyfriend or not." The man still talked to himself, as if he couldn't feel the rejection in Yuling's words, and ignored Suyi beside her, but the corner of his eyes kept looking at Suyi's expression. "I refuse." Yuling shook his head again. "You, brother, it's impolite to keep pestering me," Suyi said indifferently. "Is this your girlfriend? You are so lucky, brother." The man seemed to have just noticed Suyi's presence and said with a smile, "Ask your girlfriend to add me on WeChat. I work for a media company. With her image, if she comes to our company, she will definitely become a big hit, whether she becomes an internet celebrity or a star. Brother, please don't hinder her future. You disturbed our meal." Suyi suddenly interrupted him. The chattering man was startled, then smiled. Suyi put the chopsticks on the table, wiped his mouth with a tissue, and then smiled at him. "So, you go die. Let him die far away. Don't bother me." Chapter 32. Suyi said the following sentence to Yuling. Yuling's answer was straightforward. Yes. The man was curious about what Suyi was going to say, but he almost laughed out loud. But just as he was about to retort, he suddenly felt that he had lost control of his body. The next moment, the man who had been entangled at the table stood up like a puppet, staggered away from the table in front of the two, and sat down in his own seat. Then, as if he was drunk, he fell headfirst on the table, his face directly buried in the dishes that the waiter had just brought, and there was no movement. The female companion next to him thought he had committed some crime, but she didn't react for a while. After waiting for a long time, and seeing that he didn't move, she pushed him carefully. "Mr. Zeng, are you drunk? It's too noisy here. How about we go to another place to rest? Mr. Zeng, wake up. Someone's dead." After pushing for a long time, seeing that the young man didn't respond, the woman forcibly helped him up. Then she saw the young man's pale face and eyes wide open, and the blood oozing from his mouth and nose. A scream interrupted the decadent music in the palace banquet hall. The banquet hall, which was beautiful and harmonious a second ago, suddenly became chaotic. Not long after, accompanied by bursts of sirens, the ambulance arrived at the scene. After a check, the doctor didn't even lift the person into the car and shook his head directly. "Massive cerebral hemorrhage, has been dead for a while. There is no hope of saving. Let the family notify the funeral home. This fucking corpse is stiff, and I still call 120. Before the chaos, Suyi went with Yuling. On the way back to the hotel, Yuling couldn't help but ask, "Did I cause you trouble?" "No." Suyi shook his head and said, "Didn't you say that the man was looking at me before he came? He was here to cause trouble, not because of you." There are many people who ask for contact information of beautiful women in public places, but it is rare to see that, after being clearly rejected, seeing that the beautiful woman has a boyfriend and still pesters her. It's not normal. Point of course, there are many abnormal people, which doesn't mean anything. Point but before coming, Yuling said that this person had been looking at Suyi, not her. But after coming, he deliberately chatted with Yuling in front of Suyi, which shows that he was obviously trying to cause trouble. Deliberate provocation? Then who is he? You? Ling asked curiously. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, he has been killed. Who cares what the dead person is thinking and what he has in mind? Suyi shook his head. Point the topic ends here. Point he didn't see how the person died anyway, so he certainly didn't have any psychological burden. Point as for Yuling, killing someone was not a big deal for her, so she didn't take it seriously. Point after returning to the hotel, the two of them naturally did some things that everyone likes to do. Point they didn't go to bed until the early morning. Point what Suyi didn't know was that while he was sleeping in a mansion somewhere in Jiangcheng, a woman with a bruised face was kneeling on the ground and saying something. Point if he were here, he could probably barely see that this woman was the female companion of the man who was easily solved by Yuling. Point what she was talking about at this time was what happened in the palace banquet hall at night. Point sitting in front of her was a middle-aged couple and a very old man. Point at this time, these people looked very unhappy. Point the reason was naturally the death of a son/grandson. Point and the cause of death was very outrageous. After the doctor on the scene issued a death notice, the Zheng family still didn't believe it was true and changed several hospitals for doctors to check. Point after confirming that there was really no hope of saving the life, a special forensic doctor was called in for identification. Point the results of the identification were exactly the same as the doctor's diagnosis: sudden cerebral hemorrhage, direct death. Point no doubts it was not poisoning, let alone assassination. Point the Zheng family was large and powerful, with far more than just this one son, but the dead Zheng Ziyi was the most favored youngest son. Point moreover, such a large family usually has a professional medical team to conduct physical examinations at fixed times. In the past, Zheng Ziyi's biggest problem was kidney deficiency due to playing with women too much. Point there was no sign of any cardiovascular disease at all. Point now that a sudden cerebral hemorrhage has killed him directly, how can this family accept it? At this moment, they brought Zheng Ziyi's female companion over, of course to ask clearly. Point it was quite normal before. That is, Zheng Ziyi took his female companion shopping and spending money. Point but after talking about what happened in the banquet hall, the Zheng family, who were about to accept that their child really died of natural causes, suddenly realized that something was wrong. Who do you think the man and woman Ziyi mentioned are? The girl who mechanically recounted her experience during the day was stunned for a moment and hurriedly said, Mr. Zheng said that the man and woman is the Shen family's new dog. Since we met by chance, let's go and teach him a lesson. But later, for some reason, there was no conflict between the two sides. After Mr. Zheng came back, he didn't say a word and soon fell headfirst on the table. Shen family. The Zheng family members looked at each other, and then the middle-aged man took out his mobile phone and looked through it and found a photo. Is this person? The girl took a look and nodded repeatedly. Yes, it's him. The person in the photo was Suyi. Point the middle-aged man immediately said to the old man beside him, Dad, this is a Chinese medicine expert that the Shen family found recently from somewhere. It is said that his medical skills are very powerful and he also has a special prescription. The medicine he made has many magical effects. The Shen family is very secretive about this person. These news may not be accurate and we have never obtained these magical drug samples. It is hard to say what the specific effects are. If this medicine is real, then if Suyi secretly did something to Ziyi, it is normal that those doctors and forensic doctors can't find it. Why don't we invite him over first to ask him clearly? At this point, a hint of cruelty appeared in the middle-aged man's eyes. After all, it was his own son who died, so he naturally wanted to find the murderer and chop him into pieces. However, the old man sitting in the first seat did not agree immediately. After a moment of silence, he said, since he is from the Shen family, then follow the rules of our underworld. There is no need to call the police. Send someone to notify the Shen family, and then send a few people to invite him back. At this point, an inexplicable light flashed in the old man's eyes. Be careful when inviting people. Don't hurt the doctor. After all, we are just suspicious now, and the person may not be killed by someone else. Just invite him over and ask clearly. Maybe we can become partners in the future. Chapter 33. Suyi, who was sleeping soundly, naturally didn't know, so they wanted to invite him over overnight to ask for clarification. When the people from the Zheng family who came to invite him arrived at the hotel, the Shen family also received the news simultaneously. There is black and white in this world. The Shen family is doing half black and half white things, so the Zheng family is naturally not very clean either. Moreover, there was no evidence for Suyi's suspicion, so they could only act in private. What do you mean? The Zheng family's youngest son died, and they suspect Mr. Su did it. Yes, head of the family. The Zheng family's statement is that Mr. Su was at the scene at that time. It is said that Mr. Su's medical skills are amazing, so I would like to ask him to go over and ask clearly. The bodyguard who passed the news said quickly. After being woken up in the middle of the night, Shen Mingwen suddenly became energetic and had no sleepiness at all. He was not surprised that the relationship between the Shen family and Suyi was known to someone who was interested. It's just that he is very confident. At this stage, outsiders definitely don't know what the situation is between Suyi and the Shen family and how capable he is. It was precisely because of this that, in order to avoid alerting the enemy, no one was sent to protect Suyi's safety. This will make him be targeted by interested people. I just didn't expect that such a coincidence would happen. Suyi actually had a conflict with the Zheng family, and a young son of the Zheng family died as a result. The so-called cerebral hemorrhage, the Zheng family members may still only guess that it was Suyi's manipulation, but Shen Mingwen, who has seen what kind of medical skills Suyi possesses, is already sure about it. It is estimated that Zheng Xia offended Suyi without thinking about life and death, and was killed by Suyi using some secret method. But the fact that the Zheng family is looking for Mr. Su all night is probably not just because of Zheng Xia's death. Shen Mingwen, who was experienced in the world of martial arts, already had some guesses and said to the bodyguard, "Don't worry so much. Do you know where Mr. Su is? Hurry up and call a few people to protect Mr. Su's safety. You can't let anyone take him away. If it's convenient, bring him here. If the Zheng family obstructs it, just wait for me." Past the bodyguard immediately agreed. Although the Shen family has not sent anyone to keep an eye on Suyi in the past 2 days, Jiangcheng is only so big, so it is not difficult for such a big family to keep track of Suyi's movements. Soon a large number of bodyguards rushed to the hotel where Suyi was staying. Dong dong dong. The large number of footsteps and rapid knocking at the door made Yuling, who was lying next to Suyi and playing with her mobile phone, frown. The vague hostility of the people outside made her hands glow with a faint light. But after thinking about it, she still didn't take action immediately, but called Suyi next to her. In fact, Suyi doesn't have so many requirements for sleep now, and not sleeping for a day or two is nothing. The reason why I still ensure 8 hours of sleep every day is actually just a habit. After being woken up, his mind was very clear after knowing that there were a large number of unidentified and somewhat hostile people outside. He understood that it was probably time to solve the boy's subsequent troubles during the day. Suyi had offended not many people. He had previously guessed that this person either had a grudge against the Shen family, or the Shen family had an enmity with the other party when they helped him acquire those farms recently, so he deliberately came to cause trouble. Seeing that the revenge comes so quickly, there is no need to guess anymore. The bosses behind the farms that were acquired by the Shen family through unknown means definitely did not have such means, let alone the courage. The boy who was dealt with by Yuling's magic was probably an enemy of the Shen family. He felt helpless at the thought of being involved in this kind of struggle between forces, but there is nothing we can do about it. Any benefit comes with risks. He chose to develop his career from a wealthy family like the Shen family, so it was inevitable that he would encounter such a thing. The response method is not that complicated. The soldiers will come to block the water and come to the soil point. Since they didn't choose to call the police or deal with him through official channels, there was no need for him point after all. Yuling's identity is special, and it is not appropriate to reveal it now. I think they are here to invite us. Since they are already here, let's take a walk with them. So Yi can probably guess what the other person is thinking. Point. If they were really here for revenge, they would probably have broken in directly by now. Point. Since he was still knocking on the door politely, it meant that the other party did not believe that Suyi was the murderer of that kid, but just wanted to use it as an excuse. Point. As for what the purpose was, Suyi couldn't guess. Maybe it was to disgust the Shen family, or maybe because he knew about the water of life he displayed at the Shen family and wanted to take the opportunity to bypass the Shen family and get a piece of the pie. Point. Who knows, but he didn't care either. Just like when he faced the young man during the day, he didn't care what the dead man was thinking or what his purpose was. Ah, you Mr. Su. Outside the door, a rather cold looking man in a suit looked at Suyi indifferently. It's me. Is there something going on in the middle of the night, Su? Yi said lightly. I am from the Zeng family. Our head wants to ask you something in person. Could you please Mr. Suter come with us? The bodyguard's expression was cold and hard, and his muscles were tense when he spoke. Point. Whenever Suyi dared to say no, he would immediately take action and take the person away by force. Point. However, to his surprise, Suyi seemed not surprised at all and immediately said, can. He glanced into the house and urged, have you changed your clothes? We are leaving. Okay. Looking at Suyi, who looked casual, and Yuling, who walked out of the house in a leisurely manner after putting on her clothes, the bodyguard looked a little confused for a moment. Point. No, I'm here to kidnap you in the middle of the night. Aren't you nervous at all? Helping the Zeng family, this kind of thing of breaking into someone else's house in the middle of the night to kidnap people is not the first time he has done it. Point. Although this time he knocked on the door first instead of breaking in directly, there is actually no difference in essence. Point. This is the first time he has met a client who is so willing to cooperate with his work. Point. Originally, he thought Suyi was going to pretend to be polite and have some crooked thoughts, but he didn't expect Suyi to be like visiting a friend. Point. After taking Yuling into the car, he didn't have any intention of running away. Instead, he paid attention to the riding experience of the car. After the two of them discussed it seriously, they said that they would buy one later. The vigilant bodyguard was speechless. What made him speechless was that, during the chat, Suyi actually started chatting with him. Point. All the questions he asked were boring questions like how old are you this year? How many people are there in your family? How old are your children? Do you have a wife? How much is your monthly salary? Point. Seeing that he was so cooperative, the bodyguard answered Suyi's questions very straightforwardly to avoid trouble. He answered whatever Suyi asked. Chapter 34. A monthly salary of 30,000? That's really not low, Su. Yi affirmed the monthly salary of the bodyguard. Point. After some questioning, he already knew that behind this group of people was a force called the Zeng family. Point. The young man who died of a cerebral hemorrhage directly after Yuling performed a simple magic during the day was the most favored youngest son of the Zeng family. Point. Thinking of this, he asked the bodyguard again, the salary is pretty good. Do you have a house and a car? Is it time for the children at home to go to school? How is the school? The bodyguard had no intention of hiding anything like this and immediately said, the house was given to me by the owner of the family. It is close to 200 square meters and the location is not bad. If I had to buy it myself, it would probably cost tens of millions. I'm already very satisfied. I usually drive the car for the owner of the house. As for the car at home, my wife drives a BMW worth more than 500,000 yuan, which is pretty good. There are family arrangements for the children to go to school, so we don't have to worry about these. Our family has never been stingy at all when it comes to our own people. The bodyguard probably also knew that this person had a special status, and the Zeng family wanted to win over him. Point. So as we talked about how good the Zeng family was to them. Point. After listening to this, Suyi couldn't help but sigh. It's no wonder you are willing to work for the Zeng family. The treatment is indeed good. That's right. The bodyguard was about to continue to brag about his employer, but was interrupted by Suyi. So, If the time comes for you to die for the Zeng family, you will be willing, right? The bodyguard was stunned for a moment, then said, although I haven't read many books, I also know that a scholar will die for his confidant. The master of the family treats me well. Of course I won't hesitate when the time comes. Is this your idea alone, or is it the idea of all the bodyguards? Do other people who help the Zeng family think the same way? Su Yi asked. Of course, the head of the family is so kind to all of us. The bodyguard said matter-of-factly. Then, I'll be relieved. Su Yi took a long breath and said nothing more. Soon the car drove to a luxurious manor in the suburbs. Su Yi finally discovered that these big families with big businesses don't like to live in bustling urban areas. On the contrary, the suburbs are more in line with their taste. I don't know if it's because they prefer the quietness and scenery of the suburbs, or because it's easier for them to do illegal things in such a remote place. Mr. Su, we're here. If Su Yi took the initiative to talk to the bodyguard at the beginning, then by the end of the conversation the bodyguard would be looking for topics to have a good chat with Su Yi. Trying to use his sharp tongue to persuade the person the Zeng family is trying to win over. However, Su Yi, who had already gotten the answer he wanted, had no intention of paying attention to him. He continued talking without replying to the previous sentence. When I heard him say it, I opened my eyes and took Yuling out of the car with me. There was no need for bodyguards to lead the way, and he walked straight into the house in a swaggering manner. It was as if he was not brought here under such semi-coercion, but instead returned to his own home. In fact, Su Yi was really looking at the internal facilities of this luxurious manor, and would make some comments with Yuling from time to time. Finally, the two of them came to a conclusion. What a loss. The villa I bought for 28 million was definitely a huge loss. If he had known that this would happen, there would be such a nice big manor here, and he would buy a house that is as cheap as a feather. Wouldn't it be nice to directly inherit the Zeng family's inheritance? This place is much more luxurious than that villa, and the various decorations and layouts are more elegant. Just a manor like this doesn't have hundreds of millions, so I don't even think about it. And if you want to acquire such a large piece of land to build your own house, you need a lot of connections. Only these big and well-established families can do it. He wanted to buy such a large manor and mansion, but he didn't even think about it. It was difficult to buy, even if he had money. With the slow pace of the two of them, as if they were visiting their own home, it didn't take long before they finally arrived at the door of the main house. Through the heavy lights, you can vaguely see the shadowy people inside. At the door, a middle-aged man with a haggard look was standing at the door, seemingly specially to greet Su Yi. Of course, this was not in their previous ideas. They forcibly invited Su Yi over in the name of suspecting Su Yi to have killed Zheng Ziyi. Although he was interested in trying to win over him, he certainly couldn't be too polite at first. What the Zheng family originally wanted to do was to give Su Yi a blow to scare him first, and then see if there was any possibility of seeking cooperation. If there is, then for the sake of profit, a son cannot die. What's more, it has not yet been determined whether Su Yi killed Zheng Ziyi. If there is no possibility of cooperation, then there is no doubt that the murderer of Zheng Ziyi is Su Yi anyway. Whether they send Su Yi, the murderer, to the official punishment, or they use their own methods to solve the problem in private, the Zheng family has many options. In short, according to the original plan of the Zheng family, as long as Su Yi arrived at the villa, of course they would have the final say in everything. No matter how bad it is, it can disgust the Shen family and make the Shen family lose the chance to take off. The Zheng family is not at a loss anyway. Zheng Ziyi is dead. Originally, his death was of no value at all, but now he can be considered to have exerted some residual heat. However, after the bodyguard reported Su Yi's performance along the way to the father and son of the Zheng family, the head of the Zheng family and the old man thought that it was very likely to win over Su Yi. So they immediately changed their original idea and asked Zheng Yuanqing, the current head of the Zheng family, to come to the door to greet him. Although it was not at the door of the manor, it was only at the door of the main house. But the people of the Zheng family did not put their status on the same line with Su Yi from the beginning. In their opinion, this was enough to give face. As soon as the two met, they talked a lot with Su Yi along the way. The bodyguard, who thought he was already familiar with him, hurriedly introduced, Mr. Su, this is the head of our Zeng family, Zeng Yuanqing. Zeng Yuanqing, whose son had just died, also tried to squeeze out a few smiles on his face and stretched out his hand. However, Su Yi's easygoing and close attitude to the Zeng family was different from the bodyguard's announcement. At this time, Su Yi did not open his eyes to look at Zeng Yuanqing. After glancing at him, he continued to look at the interior decoration of the house, leaving only a bland O. Then he walked directly into the elegant and luxurious living room. Zeng Yuanqing stretched out his hand, and the whole person froze in place. This was a situation he had never imagined. After a long while, he came back to his senses. His face suddenly sank, and he looked at the bodyguard. After seeing the confusion and helplessness in the bodyguard's eyes, he probably knew that he was tricked by Su Yi, and immediately said, "Bring someone to the main house. I want to see what this kid is up to." After that, he followed Su Yi in with a gloomy face. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35. Su Yi entered the living room of the house for a long time and saw an old man sitting in a high position. The old man did not come to greet him. He naturally did not take the initiative to greet him. Instead, after carefully visiting the layout and facilities in the house, he became more and more satisfied with it. This is called a mansion. Compared with this, what is the difference between his shabby villa that he has not moved into and a straw hut? Otherwise, it would be a big family with a rich history that would enjoy it. While he was sighing for a while, other people finally entered this unusually spacious living room one after another at the same time. Two solemn bodyguards pushed a corpse covered with a white cloth into the living room on a mobile bed. Su Yi could not help but frown. Pushing a corpse into his living room. Damn bad luck. But before he could get angry, Zeng Yuanqing, the head of the Zeng family who was ignored by him before, took the lead in attacking. He directly lifted the white cloth, revealing Zeng Zi's pale and cyan face, and then said to Su Yi with a gloomy face, "Su Yi, right? Do you know him?" Su Yi glanced at him and nodded. "I know him. I had dinner in the same hotel last night." "How did my son die? Does Mr. Su know?" Zeng Yuanqing asked with a gloomy face. Everyone in the living room was staring at Su Yi, waiting for his answer. If it were an ordinary person, the sense of oppression would still be great. But now it was Su Yi who was here. The next moment, he gave an answer that no one present had expected. Faced with Zeng Yuanqing's questioning, he nodded decisively. "I know. I killed him. How could I not know?" The huge living room suddenly fell into a strange silence. After a long while, Zeng Yuanqing said coldly, "We have cleared all traces along the way, including your hotel room booking records and the hotel's internal surveillance information. No one knows you are here, and no one can prove that you are here. Even if you disappear from the world, there is no evidence to point to our Zeng family." "Young man, think before you speak." Su Yi really didn't expect the Zeng family to be so considerate. After a moment of stunned, he couldn't help but say, "You are quite nice. Don't blame me. This is the thing. This dead guy is your son, right? I killed him, so what?" It was the first time that the Zeng family had seen such a bachelor. For a moment, they couldn't help but wonder if he really had any tricks up his sleeve. But after thinking about it, although the people from the Shen family were on the way, they sent people to pester them, and they would definitely not be able to come here to save Su Yi in a short time. And Su Yi himself is an ordinary person, and it is impossible for him to have any weapons. So where did he get the confidence to say that? The Zeng family didn't understand, but they were shocked. After a brief thought, Zeng Yuanqing said, "Killing someone means paying with one's life, but now is a new era, and we in the Zeng family are all law-abiding citizens. We usually don't do this kind of thing. I heard that Mr. Su, you have some cooperation with the Shen family, and you are jointly developing a drug that can prolong people's life and has special effects in treating cancer. My conditions are not excessive. If you give the prescription to our Zeng family, this matter will be over." If this business is successful, we can give you 10% of the profits in the future. Even if it fails, this grudge will be written off, and we will never bother you again. Su Yan immediately smiled as expected, and then said, I was wondering why there was such a big fuss. It turns out you want money. Then, let me tell you, my medicine is not only effective against cancer, it can treat any kind of cancer, and can greatly extend human life. As for whether it is true or not, I don't need to swear or anything. You should have seen the Shen family's investment in me. You can also want the prescription, but I have a condition. Although he had a certain understanding of this special medicine, after hearing what Su Yi, the person involved, said, Zheng Yuanqing couldn't help but breathe a little heavier hearing this. He hurriedly asked, what's the condition? Aren't you willing to sacrifice your own son's life for money? Look, do you see that old man up there? Let the bodyguards beat him to death on the spot, and I will give you the prescription, and I won't want any share of the profits afterwards. All the profits are yours. How about it? You are looking for death. Looking at Su Yi's teasing expression, how could Zheng Yuanqing not know that he was teasing him and had no intention of handing over the prescription at all? He immediately became furious. Beat him. If he doesn't want to give it, then beat him until he is willing. I want to see whether he wants money or life. It is true that people die for money and birds die for food. Since you have already made up your mind to kill, it is reasonable for me to kill you. Seeing a group of bodyguards surrounding him, Su Yi took a step back and patted Yuling's shoulders. Take it one by one. Start with these bodyguards. You Ling nodded silently, and then pointed at the nearest bodyguard from a distance. Su Yi remembered him, the one who said in the car that he was willing to die for the Zheng family. This time he got what he wanted. The next moment, the bodyguard froze in place and fell straight to the ground. His body twitched continuously, his eyes widened, and blood slowly flowed from his eyes and mouth and nose. His death was almost exactly the same as that of Zheng. The bodyguards behind him were shocked when they saw this, and they fell to the ground one after another before they could react. Soon, a large group of them fell. This scene stunned the Zheng family members who were watching coldly. After a long pause, the half body was buried in the ground, and the old man of the Zheng family, who had never spoken, raised his hand tremblingly and said, what kind of magic is this? It's not a magic, this is called magic. Su Yi explained very considerately, you are also the first group of people in the world to be killed by magic, and it can be regarded as a grand funeral, which is still worth celebrating. The Zheng family is not an old stubborn person who is out of touch with modern society. Naturally, they have a certain understanding of the so-called magic through some entertainment works before today. If someone told them that there is a supernatural power like magic in the world, they would just sneer. But now they saw their loyal bodyguards fall to the ground and die strangely, and they couldn't help but believe it. Don't do it. Don't do it again. If you have something to say, talk it over. This is Jiazhao. There are laws. You are still young. Don't go on the road of breaking the law because of a slight thought. The old man of the Zheng family said hurriedly. It can be seen that his desire to survive is indeed very strong. Su Yu was puzzled when he heard this. What is the road to crime? Your Zheng family has very bad eating habits, and there are more than 100 cardiovascular and cerebrovascular disease patients per capita. What does it have to do with me if a group of people suddenly die of cerebral hemorrhage? Chapter 36. The group died suddenly of cerebral hemorrhage. Although this sounds outrageous, but when the Zheng family thought about it carefully, it seemed that it was really impeccable. It was true that Su Yi was at the scene, but when the forensic doctor checked the cause of death, it was found that all the people who died here died of natural causes of cerebral hemorrhage. How could this be blamed on Su Yi, who was not dead? As for whether the forensic doctors will be more careful and find out any other clues during the examination, because so many people died this time, the Zheng family has no hope. If it could be found out, the many famous doctors and experienced forensic doctors they called would have discovered the abnormality long ago when Zheng Ziyi died. Therefore, even if Su Yi killed the entire Zheng family, Here, no one would be able to do anything to him. What's more, the Zeng family didn't have good intentions when they invited Suyi over, and they cleaned up all traces along the way. Because this was not the first time they had done this kind of thing, they were very familiar with it. By then the official may not be able to discover that Suyi has been here. Threatening Suyi with Kaishi's official laws has no deterrent effect at all. Desperation began to appear in the eyes of the Zeng family member Zeng Yuanqing, who reacted the fastest, said with a gloomy face, "How about making a deal?" "What deal?" "Use our Zeng family's tens of billions of net worth to buy the lives of our entire family. If you die, won't the money still be mine?" The Zeng family was silenced by Suyi again. The old man seemed to want to say something more, but was interrupted by Zeng Yuanqing. "Dad, there's no need to say anything more. We misunderstood what happened today. Now that it's over, there's nothing more to say. If you want to kill or cut into pieces, you can do whatever you want. Look, this is a bit like a gangster." Suyi applauded. The Zeng family does similar things to the Shen family, half black and half white. That is to say, he has restrained himself through severe crackdowns in recent years. Going back a little further, there is nothing wrong with saying that he is a gang boss. By the way, your Zeng family should be more than just a few people here, right? Don't worry, I never leave any trouble in my affairs, and I will keep your whole family in order. After Suyi said that, he was about to let Yuling take action. Unexpectedly, Zeng Yuanqing, who was still very grand and prepared to die generously, suddenly broke his guard, knelt down and said, "The rules of the rivers and lakes are that no harm will come to your wife and children. Everyone present today has a share in what happened to you. You killed us all, and we don't have any objections, but the other members of the Zeng family don't know anything about this, so why bother killing them all? Have you Zeng family been so mixed up now? Have you followed the rules of the world as you said when facing all enemies?" Suyi asked, and then pointed at Yuling with a half smile. "Think carefully before answering. She knows the magic of lie detection. If you dare to lie to me, I guarantee that it will be difficult for you to die." Zeng Yuanqing fell silent. The so-called rules of the world are, of course, something you come up with when you are at a disadvantage. When I had the advantage before, how could they tell me any rules? The Zeng family had done it more than once before, just to steal land at a low price and secretly wipe out the whole family of an ale-biter household. During the chaotic period more than 10 years ago. What was done was even more outrageous than this. When encountering colleagues who are trying to steal business, they would just kill everyone, and they would not even let go of children as young as a few years old. Seeing that he didn't speak, Suyi continued to say to Yuling, "You have a way to destroy them all, right? Well, there is a kind of blood magic. Using the blood of one of them as a trigger, a blood curse can be issued. Even if the cursed object hides in the ends of the earth, he will not escape death." Yuling deliberately answered in Kaishi dialect. Hearing this, the despair in the eyes of Zeng Yuanqing and others became even greater. Seeing this, Suyi lost his mind of cat and mouse. He waved his hands casually and said, "Kill them all." "Yes." Yuling's eyes flashed, and except for the two of them, there was no one left standing in the entire hall. Thousands of kilometers away from here. A man in his 30s was boarding a plane back home with his son, daughter and wife. His younger brother died suddenly due to an accident. The man couldn't tell whether he was happy or sad. To be happy, that's true. After all, there is one less person competing for the property. To say he is sad is not false. After all, he is his biological brother who he grew up watching. But his wife doesn't have so many messy emotions after knowing that my brother-in-law died and that my husband would inherit more family property in the future. If he hadn't been worried about the negative impact, he would have opened the champagne long ago. When she went home with her husband and children to attend the funeral, she was the most positive person. However, just when he was imagining that his husband's second brother would die and his husband would inherit all the Zeng family's property. However, I found that my husband and children seemed to have suddenly fallen asleep just after boarding the plane. She felt a little strange, but she didn't ask any more questions. She just assumed it was because she was too tired to catch a plane point. When the plane is about to take off, the flight attendant comes over to remind them that they can fasten their seatbelts. The woman who noticed that her husband had not put on his seatbelt wanted to wake him up, but no matter how much she pushed or shouted, she did not see any movement from the man point until a certain moment. The man kept his head down and fell stiffly on the floor of the plane without making any sound. The same situation happened to two children, a boy and a girl, sitting next to the man. The screams broke the silence in the cabin and also stranded the flight that was about to take off at the airport. At the same time, the same thing happened in several places all over Kyushu and even around the world. In the end, different doctors in different countries and regions gave the same diagnosis. These people died of cerebral hemorrhage caused by cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases. They died naturally without any human factors. The only thing they have in common is that they all have the surname Zeng. After coming out of the Zeng family's luxurious manor, Suyi waited at the door for about 10 minutes and met Shen Mingwen, who came in a hurry. He brought a dozen cars and just stopped at the door of the Zeng family's manor, and dozens of meters of fierce black-clad bodyguards rushed down. Seeing Suyi holding Yuling and sitting on the flower bed at the door and talking about something, Shen Mingwen didn't understand what was going on, but he hurried over and asked, "Mr. Su, are you okay?" "I'm fine, but the Zeng family may be a little dead." Suyi waved his hand. Shen Mingwen looked at the Zeng family's mansion. It was past 5 in the morning, and the sky was already turning pale. The Zeng family's huge mansion was brightly lit, but it was eerily quiet. It gave people an inexplicable feeling of gloom and horror. What happened to the Zeng family? Shen Mingwen seemed to have guessed something and swallowed his saliva subconsciously. It's nothing, but their family seems to have some disgusting genetic disease. They didn't sleep in the middle of the night and had to call me here from the hotel. Then the whole family got sick and died suddenly. It was really scary. Suyi stood up and patted Shen Mingwen on the shoulder. "I'm a kind person and can't bear to see dead people. Since you are here, old Shen, I will leave this place to you. I have to go back to the hotel to catch up on my sleep. By the way, I like this Zeng family manor very much. You can have someone clean it up later." Chapter 37. The collapse of the Zeng family will definitely bring great benefits to the Shen family. It's okay to throw this mess to him and let him deal with the aftermath. However, Shen Mingwen didn't know the whole story. He only knew that all the Zeng family members were dead. For a while, there were only 2 words left in his mind: big case. Shocking big case. Their family actually developed from the dock gangs when Jiangcheng was still in the dock economy decades ago. To put it bluntly, it is a local group of local snakes. Its influence is limited to Jiangcheng. And dozens of people in a family died overnight. This is definitely a shocking case that can be heard directly. It is definitely not something that the Shen family can handle. Seeing Suyi asked him to deal with it, he thought Suyi was going to let him take the blame, and he was terrified. But he didn't dare to say anything against it. Didn't you see that there was no one alive in the Zeng family's house? Although he didn't know how Suyi wiped out the Zeng family, he was able to wipe out the Zeng family. The strength of his Shen family and the Zeng family was not much different. If they wanted to destroy him, could he still escape? Suyi seemed to see Shen Mingwen's panic and comforted him at the right time. "Don't think too much. I'm not asking you to take the blame for the aftermath. Just tell the authorities that something happened here. As for me, just pretend that I haven't been here. You have some relationship with the Zeng family. When the time comes, just tell the authorities that you discovered the situation here by accident." I said, "The Zeng family died suddenly, and they died of cerebral hemorrhage. What does it have to do with us?" After that, he got into a Maybach driven by the Shen family without hesitation. The driver looked at him and then at Shen Mingwen. It was not until Shen Mingwen nodded to indicate that he could leave that he started the car and left this place of trouble at a loss. Shen Mingwen himself listened to Suyi's words and gradually came to his senses. He remembered the news he had received not long ago. Zeng Ziyi of the Zeng family died of a sudden cerebral hemorrhage, and before his death, he happened to have contact with Suyi. This is also the reason why the Zeng family came to Suyi for trouble. Shen Mingwen saw Suyi cure cancer with his own eyes and knew Suyi's medical skills. When he got the news, he thought it was probably Su Yi who did it. But with the energy and financial resources of the Zheng family, after many autopsies, they didn't find any clues. He even suspected that Zheng Ziyi's death was a coincidence. Until now, Su Yi told him that the whole Zheng family died of cerebral hemorrhage at the same time. This kind of thing is undoubtedly extremely terrifying, but in connection with Zheng Ziyi's previous affairs, there is no doubt that his previous suspicion of Su Yi was not wrong. And if all the Zheng family members died in this way, then this matter might not be as difficult to solve as he imagined. However, he had a little more respect for Su Yi in his heart. This kind of method that can make people die of cerebral hemorrhage silently and outsiders can't find any abnormalities is really too scary. But as a businessman with a keen sense of smell, Shen Mingwen quickly sees the business opportunity. In addition to war, the Zheng family is large and powerful, and the total assets are probably no less than 10 billion. And Su Yi only mentioned this manor and did not make any arrangements for other assets of regular value. This is definitely a great opportunity for the Shen family to expand its influence. The Zheng family's legitimate industries have to go through normal business processes to annex them, which may be more troublesome. But the Shen family has no psychological burden to annex those frivolous industries. There is no need to think about this kind of thing. Afterwards, they must pay a part of it to Su Yi, but the rest is enough for the Shen family to eat their fill. Shen Mingwen, who has been an opponent of the Zheng family for decades, suddenly felt like he was being led by a big boss for some reason. After reacting, he issued various instructions in an orderly manner. This of course includes contacting the Jiangcheng officials upon hearing that such a shocking case had occurred. The officials were naturally not idle. Before dawn, the entire Zheng family manor was surrounded by officials. Then, the criminal investigation experts and top forensic doctors who came to investigate the case excitedly came in confidently, but left confused. From the placement and traces of the bodies at the scene, they guessed that these people had a conflict with one or two people before they died, especially the bodyguards, who were ready to besiege someone from the formation. And they were holding weapons such as batons in their hands. It was normal to say that they died of revenge or gang fights, but the forensic doctor's examination results showed that everyone here died of cerebral hemorrhage. This was the result of multiple rounds of testing by gathering experienced forensic doctors from Jiangcheng and even from all over Jiazhou. It was ridiculous, but it was really the fact. It was confusing. You said this was a murder scene, but all the people who died at the scene died of natural causes according to normal legal procedures. This cannot be filed. But judging from the traces at the scene, the dead people definitely had some conflicts with someone at the time of the crime, so it should be a murder scene. Such a weird button was beyond the authorities' ability to figure out for a while. And the facts proved that the Zheng family did have a way to destroy evidence and deal with official investigations. After dealing with the traces of inviting Su Yi, the authorities really didn't find out about Su Yi. The only time Su Yi was summoned to cooperate in the investigation of a major case was because Su Yi met Zheng Ziyi at the Palace Banquet Hotel the night before, and Zheng Ziyi died shortly after the meeting. Su Yi didn't know anything, so the authorities didn't make it too difficult for him. After all, this matter was a bit too outrageous, no matter how you looked at it. And they didn't expect to be linked to a small character like him. Summoning him was just a routine questioning. They seemed to want to ask Yuling as well, but because the surveillance footage was blurry and Yuling was wearing ancient costumes at the time, they couldn't be sure of Yuling's identity. When Su Yi was asked, he mentioned it, and Su Yi's answer was that he didn't know her. He asked about the beauty he saw on the street, so he invited her to dinner, and she left after dinner. It is estimated that, considering that these small people could not do anything to the Zheng family, the official investigators did not hold on to it and gave up when they saw that the questions were almost the same. Compared to Su Yi's easy escape, Shen Mingwen, the mortal enemy of the Zheng family and the person who reported the case, is naturally the focus of suspicion. However, because the death of the Zheng family was too natural, no matter how suspicious they were, they could not convict before there was evidence to prove that it was Shen Mingwen who did it. Finally, after 3 days of investigation without results, the official directly announced the closure of the case. There was no intention to fight to the death on this strange case. All the case files were collected and sealed into the warehouse with a very high level of confidentiality. It is said that the dead can't speak, but in fact, many times, the dead can speak. The remaining corpse will issue the final accusation against the murderer with the help of the forensic doctor. In this way, the official departments can use this as a basis to find the murderer behind the scenes. All the people in the Zeng family died of natural causes, which means that in this case, even the dead did not speak. So no matter how much they investigate, there will be no results, and it is just a waste of time. The official obviously knows this, and after sorting out the situation, they decisively choose to close the matter and seal it. Chapter 38. To convict someone, evidence is needed, so the authorities chose to close the case. But suspicion is not needed. So the fact that things have come to this does not mean that the matter has ended here. There will definitely be other investigations in the future. After excluding all impossibilities, Su Yi, who had a conflict with Zeng Zi of the Zeng family on the day of the incident, will obviously be the focus of the investigation. He must have been at the Zeng family that night. Su Yi knew this very well, but he didn't care. What can he do if he is suspected? The whole family of the Zeng family died of natural causes of sudden illness. No matter how strange or unbelievable it is, this is an ironclad fact. A few days later, Shen Mingwen, who was under the focus of the investigation, approached Su Yi as soon as some restrictions were lifted after the case was closed. As soon as they met, he sighed. Mr. Su is really good at tricks. To be honest, he was confused in the early morning of that day and didn't understand the situation at all. During the 2 days of being under key surveillance and investigation, he finally understood what happened in the Zeng family that night. Shen Mingwen's first reaction was not to gloat over the misfortune. Instead, he was glad that he did not offend Su Yi when he asked him to sell gold. When they first met, because his daughter neglected Su Yi, the other party was generous and did not care. Otherwise, he dared not imagine what would happen to the Shen family now. Look at the Zeng family. There is no one left alive. Too miserable. The key is that there is no place to reason after death. All of them died of natural causes. What? Means or not? Lucky. I guess their Zeng family may have some genetic disease. Su Yi said seriously. Yes, there must be a history of genetic diseases in the family, and they suddenly got sick. Shen Mingwen certainly could not object to this. The main point is that what you said is right. But of course he didn't come here today to say these things. After the greetings, he took out a pile of documents. The Zeng family's industry is divided into 2 parts, those that can be seen in the light and those that cannot be seen in the light. As for the part of the legitimate industry that can be seen in the light, Shen Mingwen can't do anything after the Zeng family members died. Moreover, most of the people who died that day were the direct bloodline of the Zeng family. Some of the more distant branches or relatives must still be alive. It is impossible that such a large family cannot find even a few heirs, even if those who inherited the family business according to the inheritance law are incompetent and are all fools. It will not be a matter of one day or one night to swallow up these legitimate enterprises. It will take time. As for those shady and unofficial industries that cannot be seen in the light, it is much easier. The rules of the underworld are that whoever wins will own it. Shen Mingwen looks elegant, but he is not a good person. In fact, with such a good opportunity in front of him, he has no intention of letting the Zeng family go. In just a few days, he took all the grey industries under the name of the Zeng family into his pocket like autumn wind sweeping fallen leaves. There is no need to say more about the means. Shen Mingwen did not dare to swallow all these things, and he did not even dare to take them himself. Now they are all sent to Su Yi. As long as Su Yi nods, these industries with a total value of no less than 3 billion will all be his. However, after he simply looked through the documents, he smiled and said, "Brother Shen misunderstood. I'm not good at business, and these industries are useless. If industries are useless, then it means money." Shen Mingwen understood immediately and said, "It just so happens that many of our family's industries overlap with the Zeng family. Since Mr. Su has no use for these industries, then I will accept them shamelessly. But at present, our Shen family does not have much liquidity. Mr. Su, give me 3 days to prepare. After 3 days, I will give you a down payment of 1 billion. will manage these industries in the future, and all profits will be counted as 50% by Mr. Su. What do you think? 10 billion plus 50% profit without doing anything. Su Yi was quite satisfied with this plan and nodded and agreed directly. It was something for free anyway, and he was too lazy to worry about it. If he was asked to manage it himself, someone would handle all the chores for him, and he only needed to share the money, which of course had no reason to refuse. At most, he would make less money, which was not a big problem. If you let others do things, you should always give them some sweet things. The key point is that for Shen Mingwen, these industries are also picked up for free. Anyway, he is also in this business, and he has a lot of people under him. He can create so many industries out of thin air by doing some things for others, which is of course pure profit. Only the world where the Zheng family is hurt has been achieved. By the way, after negotiating the business, Shen Mingwen took out another document and handed it to Su Yi. This is the deed of the Zheng family mansion. After Mr. Su said he was interested that day, I have been asking someone to do it, because a big thing just happened here. It is more troublesome to get it done, but fortunately it is done. Mr. Su just needs to sign, and the mansion will be yours, but I'm afraid you will have to wait for a while to move in. It is still blocked by the official, and even if it is unlocked, so many people have just died in it. It's a bit inappropriate to move in without cleaning it up. Su Yi doesn't care whether people are dead or not, otherwise he wouldn't want that house while letting Yuling kill people in it. After signing his name on the document, he only said that he would notify him when the official seal was removed. As for now, he doesn't have to stay in a hotel every day. He has moved into the villa he bought for more than 20 million yuan. The day after the Zheng family incident, the villa property notified Su Yi that the building he bought had been cleaned inside and out, and under his instruction, all the furniture and other things were replaced with new ones that night. He moved in with Yuling. They have been living here for several days. I have said everything I need to say. I'm very busy with the Zheng family's affairs recently. I have something to do later, so I will leave first. Shen Mingwen is very self-aware. He talked about business for an afternoon, and when it was time for dinner, he took the initiative to leave. The main reason is that he is a little afraid of the young man in front of him. His medical skills are awesome, and he can save people with advanced cancer in minutes, but this method is too cruel. Who wouldn't be afraid of killing the whole family at any time? After sending Shen Mingwen away, Su Yi lay down on the sofa and continued to be a salted fish. Zhao Yan handled the farm's affairs, and now production has resumed, so he doesn't have to worry about it. Now he has a lot of money, and there is nothing he needs to do. This is the life of lying flat that he has always dreamed of. If there is no system, he can lie like this for the rest of his life. However, this comfortable life will not last long. He had been lying down for less than half an hour when a phone call came. He took out his mobile phone and saw that it was from his mother, because he was afraid that his sudden wealth would scare his mother. Su Yi did not tell his family about his current situation these days. He only said that he was helped by his friends, did some business, and made a lot of money, and transferred 2 million to his family. At first, the two elders were unwilling to accept it. It was not until Su Yi searched for a long time and found a card with a balance of more than 6 million and sent a screenshot of the balance to his mother that his mother reluctantly accepted it. She also said that she would help him save it. Su Yi also knew that the two old people were probably reluctant to spend it, but now he was in Jiangcheng and had no time to go back, so he didn't say much. He just planned to go back to his hometown when he had time. But after his family knew that he was financially well off, another problem came again. Urge to get married. Su Yi now has a headache when she sees her mother's phone call. Chapter 39. Xiaoi, are you busy? Busy. Not too busy. Su Yi, lying on the sofa, said lazily, if someone calls me, I must be busy. If the Queen Mother calls me, I certainly won't be busy. You're the only one who talks so much. Mom Li Yi was obviously very satisfied with this answer, and then got down to business. Are you busy tomorrow? Do you remember Aunt Wang? She is the one who used to play Mahjong with me. Her daughter also goes to school in Jiangcheng. After coming back for a month during the summer vacation, she couldn't stay any longer. She said she was going to Jiangcheng to work part-time during the summer vacation or something. She and I are also old acquaintances. Why don't you see if you can do it by then? Take care of it. What the hell? Suyi had a question mark on his head. What age are we in? And adults still need him to take care of them when they go out to find a job. I'm afraid taking care of you is fake, but dating is real, right? But he also knew why his mother had such thoughts. Li Yi was a very protective person, and he was even more concerned about his own son. In the past, when he was still a small employee in a food processing factory. Although his life was relatively comfortable, he would not even talk about things that would cause more trouble for him by asking him to take care of others. But it's different now. Suyi has already shown a small part of his net worth. In a big city like Jiangcheng, having a millionaire might not be considered a very wealthy person. But if you put it in a small place in your hometown, you would be considered a wealthy person. In Li Yi's view, his son is not short of money now, so he can be considered to have established a career. The natural next step is to start a family. Find him a blind date and use the excuse of taking care of him to let the two parties get in touch. It's actually quite normal. If someone else made such a request, he would definitely ignore it. But who told her that this was her biological mother? Suyi could only say helplessly, "Mom, didn't I tell you? I have a girlfriend, so don't worry about it." In order to cope with his mother's urging for marriage, he sent her a photo of himself and Yuling. The girl in the photo you sent is prettier than the big stars. How can people like you? I really think I'm your mother. I don't surf the internet. I didn't know there is a business on the internet where beautiful women pretend to be girlfriends for a fee to deceive their families. If you want to fool me, find someone more normal. They are as beautiful as fairies, so only ghosts will believe you. Obviously, because Yuling is so beautiful, my mother can't believe it at all. This is very painful. Suyi wanted to argue again, but unexpectedly the other party hung up the phone. Then he saw information on WeChat from his mother about the girl's name and what time the train ticket would arrive at the station tomorrow. A photo is also attached. Don't tell me. Just looking at the photos, she's really pretty. Although it is not as good as Yuling, this thing is an objective difference between different races. Putting aside the slight difference in Takiyat, the little girl still has the unique youthful temperament of the girl next door in youth movies and TV dramas, full of vitality. I just don't know if this photo has been photoshopped or how much. Looking at the age again. Good guy, 19 years old. She is really just a sister, then. Just pick it up reluctantly. Looking at the photo, Suyi felt that the matter had come to this, and it would be inappropriate not to pick it up and throw it into the station. Of course, this has nothing to do with being beautiful and being 18 years old. The main reason is that he is kind and can't bear to have this little girl in the summer alone at the station with no one to care about her during dinner in the evening. Suyi told Yuling about this matter. Yuling was quite calm and didn't think there was any problem with this at all. There was no such thing as monogamy in their world. Moreover, she only regarded herself as Suyi's guardian knight from the beginning to the end, and never regarded herself as the official palace. What's more, this is just a blind date, and the horoscopes haven't even been written yet. The next afternoon, he arrived at Jiangcheng station on time. Yuling naturally came with him. But I didn't drive a very good car here. After he became rich, he naturally bought himself several luxury cars, including business and executive models, sports cars, and off-road vehicles. But what drove over this time was just his previous second-hand car worth tens of thousands of yuan. These days, he doesn't want to go on a blind date, and the girl might not want to either. According to Suyi's idea, everyone would meet for a meal and deal with each other's parents, and this matter would be over. If you really want to drive a luxury car there, it might make people have some inappropriate thoughts and complicate simple things. Because I had added WeChat in advance, there were no surprises in the pickup process. I picked up the little girl named Yang Yi smoothly. Suyi also confirmed one thing incidentally. That photo is really bad. There is absolutely no magic trick to make you. As soon as Yang Yi left the station, she was sweating profusely due to the high temperature in Jiangcheng. It was easy to tell whether she was wearing makeup or not. Moreover, she is even more beautiful in real life than in the photos. She is wearing a JK suit, is tall, has long legs, and has good looks. If Yuling's appearance is used as the standard for 100 points, Yang Yi's appearance must be 96 points coupled with that youthful temperament point. This is exactly like a middle-aged man killer. But Suyi is 30 years old now, so people may be confused when they see her for the first time. Brother. Suyi, hello, I'm Yang Yi. The girl was quite outgoing. When they met, she took the initiative to extend her hand and greeted Suyi without waiting for him to speak. Hello, it's too hot here, get in the car first. After a few simple greetings, he quickly asked people to get in the car in this horrible weather. Eggs can be fried on the ground. It's not a place for people to stay outdoors. The person was picked up, and it happened to be dinner time, so of course they went to eat. The two chatted briefly on the way, and they got to know each other. Mainly because Suyi knew the girl. Both parties tacitly did not mention that their families had originally arranged for them to go on a blind date. The main reason why Suyi did not mention it was because Yang Yi was really pretty. Well, he was a pervert, and he was a little tempted. As for Yang Yi, when she saw Suyi bringing Yuling with him, she felt that it was clear that there was no intention of a blind date, so she naturally would not continue to mention it. The place for dinner was not a high-end place, just like Suyi drove a broken car here today. It was just a very ordinary restaurant, and the three of them ate for less than 200 yuan. Yang Yi was not picky and praised Suyi for choosing a place while eating. Both of them had high EQ, and after a contact, it was not as awkward as Suyi imagined. When they came out of the restaurant after dinner, looking at the dark night sky, the question of where to let the girl stay tonight was put in front of them. Yang Yi was still a college student, and under normal circumstances, she could go back to the dormitory during the summer vacation. But her dormitory building happened to be under maintenance and renovation during this semester and summer vacation, and the school had no place for her to live. Let her stay in a hotel. Although it was not unsafe, it was not a matter of 1 or 2 days. People came to find a job and probably needed a place to stay before finding a job. You can't let them stay in a hotel every day. Although Suyi could afford this little money, his mother asked him to take care of her, so what was wrong with him leaving her in a hotel? So after thinking it over again and again, Suyi sincerely invited Yang Yi to live in his house for her sake, not because she looked good. Yang Yi had only heard that Suyi was doing business in Jiangcheng, and that it seemed to be going well. So she thought that the house he bought or rented was relatively large. She also needed a place to live, so she followed him without thinking much after hearing Suyi's invitation. After all, it was her mother who asked her to come, so she didn't think there would be any danger until she saw the villa, which was worth nearly 30 million yuan, and was luxurious, and looked like a palace to ordinary people. Chapter 40. This is your home. Looking at the big villa in front of her, Yang Yi's head was filled with questions. Didn't you say that you just made a little money from your business recently? This villa alone probably costs tens of millions. You call this making a little money? Although she is still a student who has not gone out into society, there is still a bit of clear stupidity in her eyes, but it's not like I don't know how much a villa with a big yard like this costs in such a big city. Well, it's not bad. It's just that the location is relatively remote. It's fine for a temporary stay. I'm afraid it won't be easy to find a job nearby. Suyi shrugged and opened the door invisibly. There are big waves, don't tell me. It's pretty cool. Do I need to take off my shoes? Yang Yi, who had always been very generous and confident, suddenly became a little unconfident and seemed a little cautious when asking normal questions. No, the property management will arrange for someone to clean it regularly. You, Ling, who had not spoken much from beginning to end, glanced at Suyi helplessly. Have you ever chatted like this? Why do you still want to pick up a young and beautiful girl? If you keep pretending like this, people will be scared away. Then he took the initiative to hold Yang Yi and walked upstairs. Come on, let's go pick a room for you first. Don't be in a hurry to find a job or anything like that. You're welcome to come here. Let's stay here for a few days. We just happen to, intimate look was just like that of Yang Yi's biological sister whom she hadn't seen in 10 years. Seeing Yuling volunteering to be a wingman, Suyi didn't take it seriously. Although he does think Yang Yi is quite beautiful and he can develop her if there is a chance. But he's not a loser now, so he can't take the initiative to lick someone. So he was very polite to Yang Yi along the way, with a very clear sense of boundaries. And he only showed off his financial resources from time to time. If the other party is tempted and takes the initiative, he doesn't mind taking advantage of the situation. If someone is indifferent to these things, he won't waste too much time on a woman. It's okay to talk about money, but let's not talk about relationships. If he really wanted to talk about feelings, he might as well have a good talk with Yuling. After all, Yuling is bound by the contract of the trading platform, will never betray, and is pretty. Isn't this more reliable than outsiders? But he found that the little girl Yang Yi seemed a bit slow. I didn't even pay attention to some of the things he showed from time to time that showed his financial strength. It wasn't until he saw the villa that the look of surprise appeared in his eyes. Then it was gone. If you think about it carefully, it's actually right. After all, she is a 19-year-old girl, not a spirited young lady who has been in society for many years. How do you know there are so many twists and turns? Suyi could guess this, and Yuling could certainly guess it too. That's why he chose to take the initiative and help him as a wingman. How about opening your eyes to see the world? The elf girl from another world is considerate. Suyi sighed, not bothering to pay attention to what lessons Yuling would teach Yang Yi, and went into the bathroom to take a bath. It was still early when I came out after washing, and I was thinking about turning on the computer and playing 2 games before going to bed. Shen Mingwen's phone call came suddenly. Mr. Su, I have something urgent. It's like this. After what happened with the Zheng family, Shen Mingwen was already in awe of Suyi. If there was nothing urgent, it would not be possible to call him so late to disturb his rest. Suyi listened patiently for a while, and then roughly figured out the situation. It was said that there was a certain big shot who got cancer and was going to die soon. This person didn't know Shen Mingwen before, but he had great eyes and hands. Through some means, he found out about Shen Mingwen's daughter's sudden recovery from terminal cancer, so he found him. Because that person had such great background, Shen Mingwen could only tell the truth about what happened. Everyone has found out where he is, and it will only be a matter of time before they follow the clues and find Suyi. The recent extremely frequent financial exchanges between the two cannot be hidden at all. Naturally, there is no need to hide it. Shen Mingwen called now to remind Suyi, and by the way, he wanted to ask if he could save him, and if he could, would he be willing to save the other party. If you really want to, he can help contact you. A person who can be called by Shen Mingwen as a person with hands and eyes that can reach the sky is probably considered a big shot in Kaishu. This old boy was smart enough to call him as a reminder. In fact, he mainly wanted to know if Suyi had the intention to save people. If so, he would act as a middleman to help contact him, so he could sell the other party a favor. The favor of a big shot cannot be measured by money. Suyi gave his answer without thinking. I'm not a god. I haven't seen anyone, so I don't know if I can save him. If he wants to seek medical treatment, he can just come to me. This Shen Mingwen's somewhat embarrassed voice came from the other end of the phone. Why is it difficult for him to seek medical treatment and I have to come to find him? Suyi sneered nonchalantly. If you can come, come. If you can't come, make arrangements for the funeral as soon as possible. Just kidding. He is not short of money now. Why is he rushing to treat people? Regardless of whether he is a big shot or not, he is just a handful of dirt when he dies. From Suyi's point of view, he is not much different from ordinary people. Suyi, right? I'll come to you now, and let's talk face to face. The next moment, a strange voice came from the other end of the phone. He sounded energetic and young, so he couldn't be suffering from an incurable disease. Suyi heard a sneer on his lips just now. He noticed that Shen Mingwen's tone was different from usual when he spoke today. Sure enough, there was someone else next to him. Seeing that the other party was not very polite, he was not used to it and said calmly, "It's too late today. I need to rest. Let's try another time." The Breathing on the other end of the phone was a little heavier. Suyi thought that this guy was going to lose his temper. Unexpectedly, after a moment of silence, the man said, "Okay, then I'll find you again tomorrow. Unfortunately, I have something to do in the company tomorrow. I guess I have to go there. I don't have time to receive you. Please forgive me." "How much is your shabby farm worth? Do you know who my grandfather is? You are so arrogant. Could it be that your grandfather is Lee Gang?" Seeing that the other party seemed anxious, Suyi couldn't help but make fun of him. He just liked to see these people's anxious eyes. Mr. Su, human life is at stake. Please make sure Mr. Su takes the time to meet with me tomorrow. As for your company's losses, you set a price and I will compensate you according to the price. I will never counteroffer. It could be heard that this person was very angry, but he was still able to suppress his temper and did not explode. Of course, it may also be that he knows that there is no point in exploding across the phone line. There are too many people dying every day in the world. I can't care about anyone whose life is not at stake, Suyi said lightly. As for compensation according to the price, if I don't go to the company tomorrow, the loss will be immeasurable, and you can't afford it. He really wasn't talking nonsense. Tomorrow is Monday, and the opportunity for free trades will be refreshed next week. He has already prepared the transaction items agreed with Wee in advance, and is just waiting to send them over tomorrow, and then bring back the various alien magical plant seeds and other things that he has planned. Then let Yuling start planting on the farm. If this thing is successfully grown on a large scale, it will be beneficial to all mankind. One day's delay will be a huge loss that no one can afford. Chapter 41. My grandpa's health is very poor, and I'm afraid he won't be able to survive for long. Mingren. Don't tell secrets. You can ask for any conditions you need. As long as you can save people, we will definitely do what we can. To Suyi's expectation, he thought he had said it all, but the person on the other end of the phone had just shown such a grumpy attitude that he must have been furious. Unexpectedly, they calmed down instead. Start making conditions directly. This is the attitude of asking for help, Suyi said with a smile. Tomorrow morning, I will give you an hour to bring the person over and take a look. As for the conditions, I will wait until I'm sure that I can save him. Yi didn't know whether the water of life or Yuling's healing technique could cure all diseases. It's not easy to just make a blanket guarantee that it can be cured and just put forward conditions now. It's okay to yell at someone because of their bad tone, but if you can't do what you promised others, it would be too disrespectful. Early the next morning, Suyi, who had just gotten up, opened the door and saw that there were already cars parked outside his house. He made an appointment with the other party at the specific time last night, so there was no surprise now. However, he was a bit surprised that the other party's visit to see a doctor was so grand. Seeing him open the door, an ambulance parked at the door of the villa also opened. A strong man with a shaved head and a height of at least 1.9 meters carefully helped a skinny old man into a wheelchair and then pushed the wheelchair slowly toward the door without waiting to get closer. He said from a distance, "Mr. Su, I'm Lin Yiling. I contacted you last night. Come in." Yi nodded, his expression calm and indifferent. As if this kind of scene has become commonplace. There is no stage fright at all. In fact, he must have never seen such a scene before, but he was confident and didn't panic at all. Lin Yiling was quite irritable on the phone last night, but now he has become much more humble in person. Seeing Suyi letting him in, he lowered his eyebrows and pushed the old man into the house obediently. As for the old man in the wheelchair, his eyes were closed from the beginning, and he didn't know whether he was asleep or just relaxing with his eyes closed. Suyi didn't have much interest in communicating with them. First determine whether the person can be saved, and if so, save him, and then let this group of people, who are said to have a lot of background, solve a trouble he just encountered recently, and the matter will be over. After asking Lin Yiling to push the person to a bedroom on the first floor, he immediately kicked the person out. Only he, Yuling, and the old man were left in the bedroom. Suyi is a fake doctor. Whether he can cure her or not depends on Yuling, of course. After he stepped forward and pretended to feel his pulse, he looked at Yuling. Seeing Yuling nodding his head without any trace, he felt confident. After thinking about it for a while, he said, "The old gentleman has been ill for a long time, right?" The old man, who had kept his eyes closed and said nothing, slowly opened his cloudy eyes after hearing this, glanced at Suyi and said, "It's been quite a few years, so it should have been discovered very early. Why wasn't it treated early?" Suyi asked. "Work reasons. Got it." Suyi estimated that the old man might have been in a high position before. People who sit in this position will often become extremely passive once they have an incurable disease, and it is spread. It will also affect the confidence of some allies. If you undergo chemotherapy, you will definitely not be able to hide it from outsiders, so we kept delaying and finally pushed the cancer that was discovered early into the terminal stage that is now incurable. Otherwise, normally speaking, such a big shot usually has a dedicated medical insurance team and conducts regular physical examinations, which will definitely not delay the cancer to the advanced stage. Unless it's a genetic disease like Shenyang Ying's, and the old man's current condition is obviously not a genetic disease. Of course, Suyi didn't know what the specific disease was. He's not a real doctor, and even if a real doctor comes, he can't take his pulse to check for cancer. "You must be sick. The situation is very serious. What's the disease?" The old man changed his sleepy look and asked with a smile. Suyi, "No, what the hell is wrong with you? You ask me. I'm not a real doctor." "Ahem. Old sir, our Chinese medicine doctors are different from today's doctors, and we have different names for cancer. I don't know how to use Western medicine terminology to describe the lesions found by taking the pulse. You can always tell us where the lesions are, right?" "No. Can you cure it?" Suyi's mouth twitched. Fortunately, he is a fake doctor. Although Yuling does not have medical skills, he can do magic. After hearing this, he calmly gestured to Suyi and pointed to the chest. Seeing this, Suyi thought for a moment and smiled confidently. "In the lungs. In today's doctor's terms, it's lung cancer, right?" Ling couldn't help but rub her eyebrows. The old man said with a funny face, "It's liver cancer, young man. It seems you are not good at studying." "Not good at studying? I have never studied medicine." Seeing that he could no longer pretend, Suyi simply showed his cards. "You don't care whether I have learned it or not, as long as I can save you." "That's true. So how do you plan to save her? Or use the medicine you gave to the little girl of the Shen family?" The old man suddenly became interested. Suyi did not hesitate, took out a small cup of several milliliters for drinking, poured a few drops of diluted water of life into it, and handed it directly to the old man. "Here, this is it." The old man took the wine glass and smelled it gently. His brows relaxed immediately, and he felt refreshed. Then he raised his head and swallowed the water of life in it without thinking. His face, which looked like a withered face, had improved a lot. The whole person seemed to be alive at this time. "Since I got sick, I have never felt so relaxed. It is really a good thing." The old man looked at his hand in surprise and stood up directly from his seat. Of course, this water of life could not cure his illness, but it could extend his life and restore him to the appearance of a normal old man of this age in a short time. "Right. Chenghu will pay 10 million per cup and just transfer it directly to the account of Xianyu Holdings," Suyi said with a smile. "This is a fat sheep. Asking someone to help you is a favor to save his life, so the medical expenses should be paid." The old man was stunned for a moment, then waved his hand nonchalantly and said, "Then give me another 100 cups. 100 cups can almost cure your disease and let you live to the end of your life. If you want to live longer, buy another 100 cups. You should be able to live to about 150 after drinking. Do you want to consider it?" Suyi smiled and said, "Of course. It is difficult to verify the life extension thing. I can't prove it for the time being. If you believe it, buy it. If you don't believe it, don't buy it. 100 cups are enough to save your life. I won't force more. We don't do bundled sales." The old man said without thinking, 2 billion. I will transfer it to your company's account when I go out. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42. The old gentleman is indeed a cheerful person, so Yi directly handed two exquisite porcelain bottles to the old man. I'm afraid this bottle isn't enough for the 100 glasses of wine just now, right? The old man looked at the small porcelain bottle and hesitated. Oh, that is diluted, this sauce liquid. After you take it back, you can dilute it and drink it slowly as tea. You can also blow it directly into the bottle. It will not affect the therapeutic effect. Suyi waved his hand. Such a wonderful medicine. It gives you the feeling of selling mineral water. The old man looked at the porcelain bottle suspiciously, then thought about it, and opened one on the spot. He smelled it as usual, and then drank it again. The effect this time was obviously much stronger than the small cup just now. As soon as he drank it, the old man's eyes suddenly widened. Feeling the changes in his body, he felt a shocking wave in his heart. If the previous cup only made him feel better for a while, then drinking this bottle now gave him the feeling that the shackles that had been hanging on him for several years were released. At this moment, he seemed to have gained control of his body again. It gave him the feeling that not only had he recovered from his illness, but his hands, which were already as thin as dead wood, also had a sense of strength. The whole person seems to be 10 years younger, like a dream. He reacted very quickly. After feeling the changes in his body, he glanced at the porcelain bottle in his hand and said quickly, 1 billion bottles, right? Give me a few more bottles. Money is just a number to him, but this kind of thing is definitely a priceless treasure. He can buy 1 billion bottles without losing money at all. Even if these 2 bottles of wine are enough for yourself, you can still give them away if you buy more among my old friends and acquaintances. Who doesn't have some problems as they get older? Even if you are truly healthy and without any disease, at this age you will feel that your body is getting older day by day, and you will inevitably feel that you are unable to do what you want. And you will miss the period when you were young and strong. This kind of medicine can cure any disease, and it can also be used as a miracle drug to make people younger. It can even be used as a political bargaining chip. If you let him operate it, one bottle would definitely be worth more than 1 billion. No, the last 2 bottles are all for you. Suyi spread his hands. Just kidding. The value of this thing cannot be measured by money. Just like the old man in front of him, if he was given 2 bottles of diluted and then diluted water of life, he would not only pay Suyi a sky-high price of 1 billion for one bottle, but he would also owe Suyi a favor and need him to do something. He wouldn't sell water of life with this concentration just for money. In the future, we plan to make a few more diluted versions of the water of life and make a lot of money as the flagship product of pharmaceutical companies. Now I'm definitely saving as much as I can. The water of life traded from Weiwei before was only 500 milliliters. Almost 200 milliliters of the 500 milliliters was drunk by Suyi himself. His current physical fitness can be said to be stronger than that of an ox. As for the less than 300 milliliters of water of life left, it was diluted by Yuling with water and some special magic. The water of life in Suyi's hand now is about 3 cubic meters. Of course, the effect cannot be compared with the water of life he obtained from Weiwei. But when the old man in front of him and Shen Yingying suffer from incurable diseases, usually only 1 bottle can save their lives, and 2 bottles can even extend their lives. Of course, they are all ordinary people. If it were the water of life given to him by Weiwei, then a small cup would basically have this effect. It is even more exaggerated if it is replaced by the life liquid in the moon lake of the elf tribe. At most, 1 drop can double the lifespan of ordinary people and never cause disaster. Switching to the original version of the fountain of life, Yuling said that ordinary people would have this effect after just 1 whiff of it. If you really want to take a sip, you will evolve and gain extraordinary strength in minutes, and your physical strength will be comparable to that of a low-level warrior. It is a purest source energy in the world and is of great benefit to any living creature. Naturally, the old man didn't believe Suyi's lies, but the person had already refused, and he could not speak anymore. He just looked at the remaining bottle of water of life in his hand, and after much hesitation, He reluctantly drank it all. Although this thing is good, whether it is for him or the family behind him, it is definitely more valuable if he keeps it for a longer time. If he could really live to be 150 years old. No, he only had to live to be 120 years old. He couldn't even imagine how much energy he would have in the future. How's it going? Do you feel better after drinking it? Suyi asked with a smile when he saw that he was suffocating after 2 bottles. Very good. I feel much younger. I have never felt as comfortable as I do now after turning 40. The old man's energy were obviously much better with the naked eye. Even some black hair grew on his head that was originally half bald and half white. Most of the wrinkles on the skin have also been erased. If he walked out of here now and said that he was an old man in his 70s or 80s, no one would believe him. Based on his appearance alone, he looks like he is 40 years old at most. If he tidies up a little and says that he is less than 40, but he just looks older, some people will probably believe him. The old gentleman's matter has been dealt with. I just have something that I would like to ask the old gentleman to help me with. I don't know if it's convenient. So, Yi said he was asking for help, but in fact it was a matter of course. It didn't look like he was asking for help at all. The old man didn't care and said happily, Yilan promised you before, and Olin family will naturally not break our promise. You can just mention it, as long as it is within our capabilities. I want to set up several companies. As he spoke, seeing the old man's confident look, Suyi, although she still didn't know who he was, thought about it and spoke. How many companies? What company? The old man immediately guessed that this was probably not a serious company, at least not an ordinary private company. Otherwise, with the energy of Suyi and the Shen family, they can handle it by themselves without his help. A pharmaceutical company, an arms company, and a whole technology company. So, Yi was not polite at all, except for arms companies that require special qualifications. Other companies generally don't have any requirements. Just follow the normal process. Are you sure you want my help? Old man Lin asked doubtfully. Oh, this is of course different from other companies of the same type. I need higher permissions, such as ensuring a certain degree of independence and confidentiality, and not allowing any unit to check at will. Of course, we have to take it to the market. All the products sold can withstand inspection. You can do whatever you want. In terms of experiments and production, my request is that you are not allowed to go in and look at it even if you come. Suyi said, if possible, it would be best to give my current farm a higher license. That's right. You kid has a big secret. If this potion alone can be produced on a large scale, the future revenue will be astronomical. If you want a higher level of confidentiality, it is reasonable not to let anyone check it casually. Mr. Lin agreed with the confidentiality of pharmaceutical companies and technology companies, but then the conversation changed. Chapter 43. But what do you want the arms company to do? Sell arms? It's good to make money, but even if I get someone to do it for you, will you have any arms to sell? Facing old Lin's suspicious eyes, Suyi still laughed and said, this is all a minor problem, so I don't need to worry about it. Anyway, I don't sell arms or anything in the country. If I dare to sell, no one will dare to buy. We won't do anything that violates laws and disciplines. That's right. As long as you don't mess around in Kyushu, you can do whatever you want. I agree to this. Old man Lin agreed immediately. Obviously, Suyi's guess was correct. These matters were not difficult for the old man Lin in front of him, and he could probably solve them with just one sentence. But why do you want to keep the shabby farm a secret? Are you afraid that people will steal vegetables from your farm? This old man is quite fashionable, and he always plays happy farm. Suyi complained in his heart, but still explained mysteriously. Old man, to be honest, I have a technology for cultivating special animals and plants using the medicine just now. Using this technology to induce evolutionary mutations of animals and plants will have various effects. Some of them are useful in treating diseases. The effect will even be better than the medicine you just drank if the meat and milk of cows bred using this technology are consumed for a long time. People's physical fitness will be greatly enhanced, and it is not impossible to even become a Superman. Really? Or not? Old man Lin asked suspiciously. He had always regarded the light green liquid given by Su Yi as some kind of lost Chinese medicine prescription, a liquid made from various medicinal materials. This liquid medicine can also promote the growth and mutation of animals and plants. Isn't this a little too perverted? How can it be false? Haven't you drank all this? Su Yi said immediately. Old man, I won't hide it from you. This thing is more powerful than you think. It's a top secret prescription passed down from my ancestors. In order to keep this prescription, my ancestors were hunted down by Qin Shi Huang. It took dozens of generations to pass it down to me. Our family has been a famous doctor for generations, and this is what we rely on. Fangzi, if I remember correctly, your father used to be a small contractor at a construction site. Later, he went out of business due to injury and his mother opened a small convenience store. Grandpa is an out-and-out farmer, and so is my grandpa. I have never heard of anyone in your family. Are there any famous doctors? Old man Lin pretended to be confused. This is called hiding in the city. Everyone who understands it. I can't say much about those who don't understand. In short, that's what it is. Just tell me whether you admit that I'm a miracle doctor. Old Lin looked him up and down, nodded and said, it doesn't look like you, and your medical skills don't look alike, but judging from the results, you are better than those so-called miracle doctors. Then it's over. Su Yi clapped his hands. Anyway, that's all. If you, old man, help me get it done, I'll treat you to dinner. Old man Lin was speechless. People who wanted to treat him to a meal lined up from Jiangcheng to the imperial capital. Who wouldn't beg to have a meal with him? As for the kid in front of me, it seemed like he was the one who took advantage when I invited him to dinner, but he didn't seem to be able to say anything because he was really capable, and if Su Yi really wanted to develop things with special effects, he really wanted to try them out. Okay, I agreed to this. Then this matter is over. Let's clear things up. Old man Lin said immediately. This kind of thing seems to be a trivial matter, but given his status, just giving him an order is enough. But the risks to be taken are not small. If Su Yi abides by the law as he said, then it will definitely be fine. If he does any dirty work in these unregulated laboratories, research institutions or factories, he will be involved. These are all things that are not difficult to do, but will be very troublesome later. If the life-saving grace hadn't been genuine, old man Lin wouldn't have been able to agree. This was tantamount to using his old face as a guarantee for Su Yi, whom he had just met for less than a day. By the way, there is one more little thing. Su Yi pointed at Yuling. This is my wife who brought her back from abroad. Anyway, due to some complicated reasons, she doesn't have a household registration abroad. I want to give her a full household registration. Is this a small problem for you? Old man Lin opened his mouth, intending to scold him for pushing too far, but after thinking about it, he wisely closed his mouth. Kaishu is such a big country with so many people. In the past, management was not as rigorous as modern times, and various equipment was far less developed than it is now. There were many illegal households without household registration. As management methods in all aspects have become more rigorous in recent years, coupled with the gradual digitization of society, it is almost impossible for black households without household registration to move forward. Many people have re-registered their hukou. The official side has its own set of procedures compared with those things before. This is really just a small thing. I can help you with this matter, but if you want to do it faster, it's best to give her an identity, find someone to vouch for her, and find someone to prove that she actually lived here before. It's just that I don't have a household registration. As he said that, old man Lin glanced at Yuling, and suddenly his heart moved. Otherwise, don't look for someone else. I think this girl is pretty and smart. Otherwise, just tell the public that she is the daughter of my Lin family who was living outside. She was found recently. We have a family guaranteed. This matter will be done for you this afternoon. With such a beautiful granddaughter, old Lin, will have a reputation outside the world in the future. What do you think? This was a very straightforward show of goodwill. Suyi was not stupid, so he certainly understood what the old man was planning. Point. If we really follow his suggestion and let Yuling become a member of the Lin family, even if it is only in name, at least the two parties will have a bond in the future. Point. Moreover, outsiders don't know about this. People who don't know the truth see that the Lin family has done so many things for Suyi, and the daughter who is nominally living outside is still Suyi's wife. Point. Naturally, he and the Lin family will be regarded as a whole. Point. He was also bound to the Lin family. Point. If it were someone else, even the richest man in Kyushu, even if he didn't want to, it would be hard to refuse old man Lin's words. After all, given his status, he has already taken the initiative to show his kindness, so it would be foolish of you to refuse. Point. But Su is also different. Point. He doesn't need to worry about these things. In the future, when there are many powerful people begging him, they should give him face now, not him giving face to the other party. Point. What happened between the two parties today was originally a pure exchange of interests. I don't think so. Suyi shrugged. The identity problem is easy to solve. Just give her a household registration in the name of husband and wife. As for social relations, I will solve it. Old man Lin was not angry when he heard this, but smacked his lips with regret inside. That's a shame. Helping people register for residence makes Suyi the son-in-law of the Lin family, and even the daughter is the daughter of Suyi himself. Point. This is absolutely beneficial to the Lin family. Point. But since they didn't agree, it was hard for him to mention it again. Chapter 44. Grandpa Lin Yiling, who was waiting anxiously in the living room, saw his grandfather, who was just pushed in, come out of the room in a flash. Point. He looked more energetic than a young man in his 20s. Even the half-white hair that was left had not only grown out, but also turned into short black hair. He was shocked immediately. Point. Even the way he looked at Suyi was different. Point. What is this? This is the reincarnation of Huatuo. No. Huatuo can't cure cancer either, and it's not enough to just cure the disease. The key is that, after curing the disease, the person looks dozens of years younger. It's a direct rejuvenation. Point. If you say that Suyi fed Grandpa Lin a magic pill, Lin Yiling will believe it now. Old man Lin ignored his grandson, called the secretary who was accompanying him, and after instructing Suyi on the things he asked him to do, he took the initiative to say goodbye and left. Point. Although Lin Yiling was very curious about how Suyi did it, he was afraid of his grandfather's pressure and didn't dare to ask at this time. He just made up his mind to ask clearly when he had time. Point. This is too angry. Point. It doesn't make any difference between the dead and the dead. After sending all the guests away, Suyi sat down on the sofa. Point. Asked Yuling, who was preparing breakfast, "Where is Yang Yi? What did you talk about last night? You came back to my room so late." Ling answered without looking back while frying eggs. "She shouldn't wake up yet. We didn't talk about anything, just some life ideals. She is indeed a very cute girl, and she doesn't have any bad intentions. Her life ideal is to eat delicious food and have fun, and not work." Ling has a magic that can sense the movements around her. Since she said that Yang Yi was still asleep, there would naturally be no embarrassing incident where the two of them suddenly went downstairs in the middle of their conversation. Suyi also said after hearing this that ideal is indeed full of ideals, but for most ordinary people, it is really difficult to achieve this goal these days. Yuling has basically understood the social situation here and heard this and smiled. "Yes, it is very difficult, so I gave her a suggestion." "What suggestion?" "I told her that, as long as she follows you, all these can be easily achieved, and it will definitely be better, more exciting and easier than her imagined life." Yuling covered her mouth and laughed. "I said it in a half-joking tone, but don't you say that the truth is often hidden in jokes here, and the effect is really good." She must be tempted, but limited by the backward monogamous thinking here. If she mistakenly thinks that I'm your wife, it is probably not easy for her to figure it out in a short time. To clarify, it is not a mistake. When old man Lin completes your household registration, then we will be real husband and wife-in-law. Suyi smiled. Yuling's busy body paused visibly, and after a while she said, "Very good." After that, she stopped talking and concentrated on preparing breakfast. Suyee walked behind her and held her waist without hesitation and said, "What's wrong? Are you unhappy? Or are you very touched?" I'm not unhappy," Yuling whispered. But, Suyee just hugged her quietly, smelling the fragrance of her hair, and after a long time she said, "This will be your home from now on." Yuling opened her mouth. Thousands of words, and finally only converged into one word. "Okay." In fact, she lied to Suyee about something. It is true that the mainstream of their world is polygamy, but it does not include the elves. Elves will only love one person in their life. When she became Suyee's guardian knight, she might have been forced to do so due to the situation. But after Suyee did not ask, she took the initiative to sleep with him, which meant that she was completely Suyee's person. The reason why she made this decision at that time. 1. Reason was that with her appearance, she became Suyee's guardian knight, and there were also the terms of the trading platform contract, which she thought was a matter of time. Another reason was that she felt the breath of home around Suyee. It's funny to say that, although she was the princess of the elf kingdom, the royal family was ruthless, and the palace was a cold political vortex. She had never felt the warmth of home since she could remember. On the contrary, she had this feeling when she was with Suyee a few days after arriving on Blue Star, so she was willing to take the initiative to tease Suyee that day and gave him her most precious thing. Even after realizing that Suyee would never have only her as a woman in the future, she had always been very generous and took the initiative to act as a wingman. It was because she didn't want to lose this home that she got by mistake in a strange world. Unfortunately, this warm atmosphere only lasted for a moment. Feeling the mischievous hand on her body, Yuling came back to her senses and said with a red face, "Don't, Yang Yi has woken up." "What are you afraid of?" "This kind of young people, even if they wake up, will stay in bed for at least half an hour and won't come down for a while." Suyee leaned close to his ear and said, Come in. Don't you think it's more exciting here?" No, pull the curtains." Breakfast was simple. Suyee ate 2 steamed buns with honey water and was almost full. Yuling didn't eat much. In fact, she wouldn't starve to death even if she didn't eat for a month. She just wanted to eat with Suyee. Yang Yi came down from upstairs just after breakfast. Suyee was thick-skinned and didn't feel anything, but Yuling was not as thick-skinned as him. She had just finished eating breakfast secretly and was almost bumped into by the girl. She was a little guilty. After a simple greeting, she hurried upstairs to prevent the traces of eating secretly from being discovered. "Well, what's wrong with Sister Yuling? She seems to be very busy," Yang Yi asked in confusion. "It's okay. I spilled some on my clothes while eating meal and went upstairs to change clothes. Here, breakfast. Let's eat together." Suyee greeted enthusiastically. "Is this so?" Yang Yi looked at Suyee and then looked at the direction where Yuling disappeared. She always felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't tell. But after seeing the rich breakfast on the table, the foodie attribute suddenly exploded and his eyes were straight. But he paused again when he walked to the table and said cautiously, "Brother Suyee, don't you want to eat?" "I just choked a little when eating a bun." "You eat first." "Who can eat after just doing strenuous exercise?" Yang Yi's eyes lit up immediately, picked up a bun and said, "Is it so delicious? I want to try it too." "Wow, beef stuffing, so delicious. The buns I eat are much more delicious than this." Chapter 45. Haven't seen you for a long time. Long time no see. Princess Wei is still as charming as ever. In the trading space, Suyee looked at Wei, who had taken off her armor and put on a luxurious dress, and praised her sincerely. I guess Xiaomi in the magical world is more nurturing. Although this Wei is a human being, her appearance is not inferior to Yuling's, and her skin is as smooth as jade, without any flaws. "Thank you for the compliment." Wei pursed her lips and smiled, then got down to business. "In the list you gave me last time, I have already collected everything that can be collected in a short period of time for you. There are 30 kilograms of seeds of various magical plants in total, and a pair of giant horned cows, one male and one female. According to your request, the cow is pregnant. In addition, when I was helping you search for small magic circles, I accidentally discovered that our Mengchuan City Magic Guild has a medium-sized magic circle dedicated to the cultivation of magic creatures. The appearance of this medium-sized magic array is completely unexpected. The Magic Guild headquarters is just preparing to open up a new pasture in the mountains at the southern foot of the mainland. The closest teleportation array to that place is our Mengchuan City. Through Mengchuan City after the teleportation array sent the magic array disk to Mengchuan City. The magic array was stranded in Mengchuan City due to the war. It's in my hands now, but after all, this is a medium-sized magic circle, and its value is unmatched by small magic circles. If you want it, we'll probably have to renegotiate the price. Of course, it doesn't matter if you don't want it for the time being. This kind of thing, it's also hard currency here, so I don't have to worry about selling it. I've already prepared the small magic circle for you. The choice is yours. In addition to these, I have also prepared a large amount of the mature fruits of magic plants and the flesh and blood of monsters that you requested. The total is about 5 tons. If you can provide sufficient food, we can give you more next time. After listening to Weiwu's words, Suyi couldn't help but said, "You just brought the things that the Magic Guild left behind at your place. Is that appropriate?" "Of course it's appropriate," Weiwu said lightly. According to the War Act of the Blazing Sun Empire, during the war, as the Lord of Mengchuan City, I can legally requisition all resources within the territory. The medium-sized magic circle of the Magic Guild quietly appeared in my territory, and I have not yet blamed it. They hid important strategic resources during the war, so what qualifications do they have not to donate them? I heard from Yuling that there is a magic empire behind the Magic Union, and its strength is not inferior to your Blazing Sun Empire, right? Can people swallow this breath? That's an issue that should be discussed between 2 high-level empire officials. It has nothing to do with me. Weiwu shrugged and said indifferently, "Unless those pedantic old men with magic staffs plan to expand the current local war into a full-scale war, just for the sake of breaking the magic circle, this matter will definitely be settled in the end." "No, you kept asking, do you want it or not? You've already robbed it, so I definitely want it. How can I sell it?" Suyi said matter-of-factly. "Point. If you have good things, you don't have to be stupid." Weiwu stretched out a slender finger. 1,000 tons of grain. 100,000 tons. Weiwu rolled her eyes at him. "With this medium-sized magic array, even if I open a special piece of land in Mengchuan City to grow ordinary grains, I can harvest 1 crop a month and tens of thousands of tons per crop. There's no way Yuling didn't tell you about the effects of these magic circles. Don't act stupid." 100,000 tons. Suyi rubbed his eyebrows in embarrassment. "To be fair, this magic circle is indeed worth so much, and its real value even far exceeds the 100,000 tons of food." According to Yuling's previous statement, the coverage area of the small magic array is about 10 square kilometers. The usable area of Suyi's current farm is about 17,000 acres, which is just over 11 square kilometers. A small magic circle can cover most of the farm, leaving a little more space for other things, which is just enough to hide people's eyes. The medium-sized magic circle is incredible. There is no fixed number of areas that this thing can cover. It will show different coverage depending on the concentration of magic power in the place where it is placed. It can cover at least 100 square kilometers and even reach thousands of square kilometers at most. And the most important thing is that the range of this thing can also be manually adjusted. By reducing the coverage, the magic power in the reduced area will be more intense and more conducive to the growth of organisms. And within the coverage area of the small magic circle, if it is used to grow ordinary crops, the worst case effect can shorten the planting cycle of crops by 2/3. The food grown is said to be ordinary food, but in fact it is still contaminated with some magical properties. For example, eating it for a long time will strengthen your body, extend your life, and taste much better than real crops. Livestock raised within this range have the same effect. This is just a small magic circle. The effect of a medium-sized magic circle is even more incredible point, even by narrowing the coverage area of the magic circle and making the magic power inside reach an extremely strong level. There is a certain chance of cultivating ordinary crops and livestock into magic plants or magical beasts. Judging from these effects, it's not an exaggeration to say that the price given by WeWe is a jump off price point. It's probably because in their world, this thing wouldn't be easy to sell in a short period of time. That's why she sells it so cheaply. But these 100,000 tons of grain, even for Suyi now, it is very difficult to get it in a short time. This time he came prepared, but he just spent a high price to buy a batch of imported wheat that had just arrived at the port. A total of 20,000 tons. The ocean freighter carrying wheat only arrived at the port yesterday, and it is estimated that it will not be able to unload the cargo until tomorrow. Suyi will have to go to the Magic City port the day after tomorrow to store the 20,000 tons of grain in the storage space and bring it to WeWe. The Geo's how government has the habit of hoarding grain, and the reserve grain is in units of 100 million tons, but that thing is not something Suyi can touch. And the ocean trade of bulk commodities usually has buyers when the freighter leaves the port from the place of shipment. He spent a lot of money to get these 20,000 tons of grain this time, and there was also a certain amount of luck. It is hard to say whether he will have such good luck next time. If you purchase directly from the place of shipment and then transport it by ocean freighter, the time required is basically in months, a lot of short term things. In fact, Suyi has already asked someone to do this, so these 20,000 tons of grain is the limit he can get in the short term. Unless he goes abroad to the place of origin in person. But this will bring some other problems, such as there is no domestic farmers or cover to properly digest these grains. The unknown whereabouts of bulk grains are likely to be targeted by others, resulting in the exposure of the trading platform. It is difficult to give you 100,000 tons of grain in the short term. It will take at least 1 month to fully replenish it. Chapter 46. Suyi thought about it again and again, and finally expressed the difficulty. WeWe was not surprised by this, although she guessed that Suyi was definitely a powerful person in her own world. 100,000 tons of food was too much after all, and it was normal to not be able to get it for a while. So she already had a plan and immediately said, "It doesn't matter. If you don't have food, you can replace it with other things, such as weapons, swords, bows, and arrows, armor. I want all of these, especially consumables like bows and arrows. I want as much as you have on the battlefield." Armaments are obviously as important as food. When it comes to this, Suyi doesn't feel sleepy anymore. He came well prepared today and naturally brought some blue star specialties like a compound bow. Suyi took out a prepared compound bow. The compound bow has a maximum draw weight of 70 pounds and an effective range of 200 meters. It comes with sights, shock absorbers and other auxiliary shooting equipment. I can also give you 10 high quality carbon arrows with each bow that can shoot through steel plates. A bow is worth 10 tons of grain. What do you think? The price is definitely not cheap, but it's actually not that outrageous. The compound bow he took out was of very good quality, and it would cost at least 8,000 yuan to buy it by yourself. As for 1 ton of grain, cheaper old grain is estimated to be less than 2,000 yuan. The cost price is close to the price of 5 tons of grain. But Suyi's price is only doubled, which can be said to be very conscientious. Of course, Suyi had already started to acquire the manufacturer of the compound bow before he came. If the acquisition was successful, the cost price would of course be another matter. WeWe did not directly object to the price, but took the bow handed over by Suyi and looked at it carefully. The making of ancient bows and arrows was a very complex craft, involving multiple components and a delicate manufacturing process. The production process of traditional bows is complicated and uses a variety of materials. Moreover, the workmanship and material selection are also affected by seasons and have certain seasonal restrictions. If this bow is really as good as Suyi said, then she can accept the higher price point. After taking a closer look and even shooting a few arrows in the trading space, WeWe frowned and said, "The sights and other auxiliary tools on the bow are very useful. These pulleys can also greatly save the archer's physical energy consumption, but the power is still too small. It is useless If I buy it, even if it is paired with your even a sharp carbon arrow would have difficulty penetrating the thick knight armor in our world. Is there anything more powerful? Low power is indeed a common problem with bows and arrows available in China. 1 pound is only 0.45 kilograms. A 70-pound bow sounds bluffing, but the actual draw weight is only over 30 kilograms. The ancient warriors of Kyushu often fired 3-stone strong bows. The unit of stone changed frequently in ancient Kyushu, and there is a lot of controversy about how many kilograms it means when converted into modern units, but on the bow, it is generally believed that the stone here refers to 50 kilograms. The 3-stone bow is a 150 kilogram bow point in a demon-free world like Blue Star. This is probably the limit of human beings, but in their magical world, there is obviously room for improvement. Not to mention that Wee, who was trying out the bow, was still a starlight knight in their world. Although her martial arts strength was inferior to that of Yuling, the title of Dragon Slayer was also obtained by chance. But in Blue Star, let alone fighting tigers and leopards with bare hands, she could crush the Tyrannosaurus Rex to death with one hand. This compound bow with a draw capacity of just over 30 kilograms is indeed no different from a toy to her. It's easy to increase the power as big as you want it to be. I can make it here for you. If we want to talk about this, then Suyi won't be sleepy anymore. The maximum poundage of a compound bow is usually around 70 pounds. This does not mean that this thing can only be made at this maximum poundage point, but on Blue Star, a 70-pound bow is completely sufficient. With good arrows, even if an elephant comes, you can shoot it down with one arrow. No matter how big it is. Not only is it meaningless, but few people can pull it apart. The so-called 3-stone strong bow in ancient times was not actually used for combat, but was generally used for training. No matter how powerful the bow you can fire on the battlefield, it is not as powerful as the bed crossbow controlled by 2 or 3 pawns on the opposite side. Use no point, but if this thing were placed in the magical world, with the average physical quality of the people there, and large quantities of high pound and powerful bows, it would be completely different. It is of real practical value. As for the manufacturing difficulty, a compound crossbow weighs hundreds of pounds. How could a compound bow weighing several hundred pounds not be made, as long as there are people who use it, and there is a market? The technology of those manufacturers in Kyushu can give you a strong bow weighing more than 200 pounds in minutes. If this thing had been made before, Suyi would not have been able to make it, even if he acquired the manufacturer. It would definitely be a legal point, but after Old Man Lin got him the qualifications for military production and trade, he was really able to produce reasonably and legally. Don't worry about who I produce and sell this thing to. I'm happy to make it. It's not illegal anyway, and I will bear the loss myself, and no one can care about it. Not only bows and arrows, he can also give Wee a batch of more powerful compound crossbows. When a modern compound crossbow is placed on an ancient battlefield, the sense of oppression it gives the enemy is no less than that of a bolt-action rifle in World War II. Definitely a killer. It is not impossible to even use modern technology to bring out big treasures such as bed crossbows. In short, in terms of technology in this area, the magic world can never compare with Blue Star, and it can fully meet all of Weewo's basic war supplies needs. Of course, they must have their own killer weapons, for example, some special bows and arrows related to magic. But this kind of thing is destined to be a minority, and cannot be popularized in large quantities, and Suyi has a huge industrialized country behind him. In terms of production and cost, he has an absolute advantage in these basic things, using the pounds you mentioned just now as a unit, about 200 pounds. It is considered a very rare strong bow here. After forming a certain scale, even a genuine knight with holy light protection and full armor will never dare to attack this kind of arrow rain. We pondered 10,000 pairs of such strong bows. Each pair of bows and arrows is equipped with 10 corresponding arrows, and 100 arrows with stronger lethality, which is equivalent to 50,000 tons of food. The bows of Blue Star are indeed overvalued. Suyi can spend so much money on this composite bow in his hand. The main added value is greater than its true value point after bows and arrows completely withdrew from the battlefield. Bows and arrows have become an extremely niche sport for the rich point, as we all know. Weapons and sports equipment are definitely not the same price point. However, Weiwei's knife directly cut the price in half, which was a bit outrageous. Suyi naturally had to argue with reason point. In the end, the two sides reached an agreement point. 10,000 strong. Bows weighing more than 200 pounds, plus 10 special arrows, and 100 special arrowheads for each bow, were deducted from 80,000 tons of food. Chapter 47. Suyi used 1,000 sets of heavy armor that can cover the whole body, and 1,000 sets of extremely powerful compound crossbows, to pay for the remaining 20,000 tons of food. Suyi needs to give all the weapons and equipment to Weiwei within 1 month. This time is relatively sufficient for Suyi. As long as he has money, the factory is ready. With just these few things. Modern factories can modify the production line and run at full capacity in a few days. In this way, the medium-sized magic circle is considered to be cleared. But Weiwei brought him far more good things this time. The seeds of those magic plants and the 2 giant horned bulls are worth tens of thousands of tons of food. In addition to the nearly 5 tons of magic crop fruits and the flesh and blood of the monsters brought by Weiwei. The 20,000 tons of wheat that Suyi has prepared are not enough to pay. Fortunately, he had also obtained thousands of tons of food in the name of the farm in Jiangcheng before. After a lot of wrangling, the two finally bought the things provided by Weiwei with 28,000 tons of food. This batch of food needs to be handed over within a week. These are the ones that Suyi can pay for within a certain period of time. Then there are some that he cannot pay off in a short time. For example, the most valuable water of life for him at present. Before Yuling fled the elf kingdom. In addition to the core of the spring of life buried in her body by the elf high priest using special means, she also took away all the spring water in the spring of life. These spring waters flowed into the moon lake, and after dilution, they became the original liquid of life, and the original liquid of life was diluted and blended to become the water of life. The diluted and diluted water of life that Weiwei traded was the same concentration as the last transaction with Suyi. And the spring water of the spring of life that Yuling brought out has all been handed over to Weiwei. If not, even if Weiwei had a good relationship with the elves and Yuling before, she would not take the lives of hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians in her territory, Mengchuan City, seriously, and she would bear the pressure from the elf kingdom and some other races to protect Yuling when she was already under siege. It can be said that in their world, Weiwei is now the person with the most water of life. Even the elves themselves don't have as much as she does, because the elves only have the life essence in the moon lake, and this is just a rootless duckweed, which will be gone once it is used up. This time, Weiwei brought much more water of life than last time. There are 5 large wooden barrels with a capacity of nearly 1 cubic meter. What does 50 barrels of water of life mean? According to the fact that Yuling can use 300 milliliters of water of life to mix 3 cubic meters of liquid medicine that can be diluted to the extreme and still guarantee a certain effect. These waters of life can be diluted at a maximum ratio of 10,000 to 1.5 cubic meters of water of life can be diluted into 50,000 cubic meters of liquid medicine. The reason why the liquid medicine diluted to this extent is still so effective for the Shen family and old man Lin is not because the water of life is really so amazing. But there is only so much of it, so Yuling used some special healing magic to dilute it to enhance the efficacy of the liquid medicine. If these 5 barrels of water of life are to be diluted, Yuling will definitely not be able to add more ingredients without her intervention. After diluting at a ratio of 1 to 10,000, the effect of the liquid medicine obtained will definitely not be so amazing. 1 small bottle can cure cancer, and 2 bottles can prolong life. But a small bottle of 300 milliliters, 1 bottle can strengthen the body, 2 bottles can protect against all diseases, and 3 bottles can also bring back the late stage of cancer. Drinking 10 bottles can prolong life, which can be said to be no problem at all. With this calculation, these 5 cubic meters of water of life are enough for Suyi's pharmaceutical company to consume in the early stage. After all, it is a new thing. It is estimated that few people will believe it when it is first launched, and there will definitely not be many people who will buy it. But as the reputation of the product is spread in the later stage, it will definitely shock the whole country, and even the world. Sales will definitely soar. As for why the water of life from another world still has such a good effect after being diluted so many times, Yuling analyzed that the reason is that the people in this world are too weak, and various diseases are also weak among weak chickens compared to their world. If ordinary people from their world come here, they can be completely immune to all poisons and diseases and the good stuff like water of life, even if diluted at a ratio of 1:1000, is very effective for ordinary people in the magic world. It is not surprising that it is effective for people on Blue Star if the dilution ratio is increased tenfold. After all, the biggest role of this thing in the magic world is to improve people's physique and even promote human evolution. Compared with making biological individuals evolve out of thin air, saving people is simply child's play. And Weewoo's provision of these 5 cubic meters of water of life is completely beyond Suyi's ability to afford now. She directly offered 10 million tons of grain. According to the agreement between the two. Before, 100 tons of grain equals 1 trading platform member. This is 100,000 points. Suyi can't give a little point, but fortunately, he was prepared. He also knew that Weewoo liked things related to war, so he took out the real good things on Blue Star. Hot weapons. There is no physical object, but with the help of the trading platform, Weewoo can understand the lethality of hot weapons very intuitively. In the end, Suyi negotiated with her with both reason and emotion. He bought the 5 cubic meters of water of life for the price of 100 AK-47 rifles, 10 light and heavy machine guns, 2 heavy howitzers, and matching bullets, shells and other items. It can be said that he made a lot of money. As for why Weewoo didn't want more powerful weapons, it was naturally because Suyi didn't show her more powerful weapons. The fact that Weewoo could give out so much water of life at one time showed that this thing was not so rare in their place. Of course, Suyi had to keep some things in reserve and would not give him the best things. What about tanks, planes, warships, missiles, big mushrooms, etc.? There is a long way to go, and you can take your time in the future, and it is not easy for him to get these things now. As for ordinary guns and artillery, after he dilutes the water of life on hand and sells it, is there any weapon in this world that he can't buy? Even those high-tech weapons such as warships and planes that are not sold to the public, he is completely sure to get them under the temptation of prolonging life. After a transaction, it can be said that both the host and the guest are happy. Weewoo is looking forward to the arrival of weapons and food from Suyi. At that time, she will not only continue to defend the city, but can even try to organize a counterattack. Suyi does not need to look forward to it. Because after signing the transaction contract, Weewoo has handed over all the things to him. Looking at the dazzling array of magic world specialties in the storage space, Suyi is already planning how to make a big move. Chapter 48. 2 days passed in a flash. The seeds of the magic crops that Weewoo had traded for had been planted in a most secret area of the farm. Yuling personally buried the magic circle in the Shianayu farm. Although this magic circle can cover 100 square kilometers, it seems a bit wasteful to install it in this farm of just over 10 square kilometers. But after narrowing the range, the concentration of magic power within the coverage area can be increased, which is of great benefit to the growth of plants and animals, so it is not a loss to install it here. After planting, Yuling personally felt the concentration of magic power in the farm, and said frankly that the concentration of magic power in Blue Star might be much richer than that in their world. It's just that the people here have not discovered that there is a substance in the air, and there is no means to use it. Even if the magic circle is not turned on, these magic plants should be able to survive in the farm at the current ultra high density. Now with the blessing of the magic circle, the fastest growing crops in it may be ripe and picked within a week. That is a kind of strawberry from the magic world, known for its sweetness and large size. The slowest growing crop should grow and mature within a month at the latest. However, the excessively strong magic power in the magic circle will also lead to some unexpected factors, such as some weeds and small animals mutating to a certain extent. In the short term, the workers in the farm, who are not aware of the situation should pay more attention, and there should be no accidents. But if this continues for a long time, Yuling suggested that Suyi should find a way to get a team of guards from the magic world to be responsible for the safety of the farm. It is not that they are afraid of outsiders breaking in, but they are afraid that some creatures hiding in the farm for a long time will mutate and run out to cause trouble. As for the workers working in the farm, they don't need to worry too much. Animals will evolve if they stay in it for a long time, and these workers will certainly evolve if they work in it for a long time. These originally weak small animals, insects, etc., even if they evolve, it is difficult to pose any threat to the workers who also stay in the farm for a long time. However, this is a subtle process and will not be too obvious. These people will find that their strength and other indicators have soared in the short term, but they will not find any problems without testing. Even if they really find that they have become supermen, it is not easy to find out about the farm. Although the plants in the farm grow very fast, it is very simple to prevent the workers from finding abnormalities. Just don't let them work in the same area all the time. As for the pair of giant horned cattle, the female one is about to give birth. The vitality of this creature is extremely tenacious, so Suyi doesn't have to worry about the breeding cattle that he spent a lot of money and bought life trading cards with points to get dying of dystocia. It's just that according to Yuling's suggestion, he gave the cow a glass of water of life every day when it was about to give birth. The farm is gradually getting on the right track according to Suyi's original idea. Suyi himself has not been idle these 2 days. The 5 tons of magic crop fruits and monster flesh sent by Weiwei are of course for eating. He eats this every meal now. He can't help but sigh that this thing is good in every way. It's not only delicious, but also nourishing. The only disadvantage is probably that it's a bit too nourishing. It made him a little angry recently. Fortunately, Yuling has been staying by his side. Whenever he got angry, Yuling would use a magic called cooling, which would take an hour or 2 to cool him down. The disadvantage is that using this magic would not only make her tired, but also Suyi tired. Even if he hadn't eaten a lot of magic food in the past few days to greatly improve his physical fitness, he would have been exhausted with this intensity of battle. Yang Yi was brought to the villa by him, and of course she didn't find a job in the past 2 days. After all, the so-called summer job and job search were just lies that their parents told them to go on blind dates. Yang Yi's family background is actually not bad. Of course she wouldn't really run around the world looking for a job on such a hot day. Soon she got used to lying in the big villa like a salted fish. Under Yuling's continuous brainwashing, the look in her eyes when she looked at Suyi was a little strange. This weird situation made Suyi exclaimed, "Wow, if he wasn't tired, he would have to find time to write a book." Reborn. My elf wife is a wingman. I have to go to the magic city tomorrow. Are you going, Su? Yi asked casually during dinner. Of course, this is not to Yuling. Yuling has always regarded herself as a bodyguard, so of course she will go wherever Suyi goes. No need to ask me. Yang Yi was stunned for a moment and then asked curiously, "Are you going to travel or do something else? If there is something, I won't go." Su Yi went to the magic city to collect the 20,000 tons of grain. He was in a hurry to hand over this batch of grain to Weiwei within the specified time. Of course, he went to work. But this is not a serious matter. How can it be put on the table? I'm bored, so I'll go and have fun. Then, is it convenient for me to go? Will I become a light bulb for you too? The girl was straightforward and looked at the two people with a somewhat ambiguous look. These days, Suyi often got angry, and the villa was in a war. She is an adult, not a fool. How could she not know what these two were doing? At first I blushed, but now I'm almost used to it. It just wears out my underwear. The most common thing I do every day is to take a shower and wash my underwear. If you join directly, you won't have to worry about becoming a light bulb, right? Suyi secretly complained, but he didn't say it out loud. The time is almost right. It's not difficult for him to win this beautiful young girl. But he doesn't want to be too active in this matter. The first person to take the initiative is often passive in the end. Anyway, he is not anxious, and he doesn't lack women. Yang Yi can only stay here for a month at most. Now Suyi temporarily takes her in to live here for the sake of his mother. When their school starts, Suyi has no reason to take her in, and she has no reason to stay here. The two will probably not meet again in the future. After all, Suyi's company has been getting busier and busier these days, and there are more and bigger companies. Although Yang Yi has not paid attention to these things, it is hard not to see them when she stays in the villa all the time. In Yang Yi's view, Suyi's mother didn't know how far Suyi had developed in Jiangcheng, so she recommended her here. Once she knew how big her son's career was, it was hard to say whether she would still look up to her. If it wasn't for Suyi's mother's recommendation, she would probably have a hard time meeting people of Suyi's class in her life. So, in this matter, Yang Yi was the one who was really anxious. Someone wants to have a beautiful woman by his side. You are so beautiful, how can you be a light bulb? Yuling easily dispelled Yang Yi's concerns. Then the two women discussed where to go to play in Modu, what to buy, and other topics. As for whether the mind is on playing or not, it's hard to say. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49. Brother Su. This way, Su Yi met an acquaintance at the airport. Just after getting off the plane. Lin Yilan. The grandson of Old Man Lin. He was the one who took Old Man Lin to Suyi's house for medical treatment that day. Speaking of which, this guy's actually not bad. Just a little impatient. It is said that he just retired from military service. After Suyi cured Old Man Lin, Lin Yilong's attitude towards him changed 180 degrees. And he was closer than brothers when leaving Jiangcheng. He specifically told Suyi that he must treat Suyi to dinner when he arrived in the magic city. This time, Suyi came over and just mentioned it to him briefly and asked some questions and did not let him pick him up at the airport. But Lin Yilong still took the initiative to come over. Mr. Lin personally picked me up at the airport. I'm really flattered. Don't hit a smiling person. Since he came to pick him up politely, Suyi naturally gave him enough face. As expected, Lin Yilong smiled and said to the people around him, "See, this is my brother, Dr. Suyi Su. Brother Su, these are my friends. They heard that you have amazing medical skills, so they all want to come and see it." Lin Yilong introduced the people around him. All of them are children of the rich and powerful. Among them, the people with the lowest status can be seen with the naked eye, but their family companies are all well-known companies in Jiuzhou. People with high status like Lin Yilong only say who they are from and keep silent about what their family does. Obviously, the wealthy people in Jiuzhou who are open to the public are the most unpresentable. In the top circles, these are all potential big customers, and Suyi is planning to use the water of life to blast the gold coins of these people's families. Naturally, he is very polite. Although these people who followed him didn't know about the water of life, they all knew that the terminally ill old man of the Lin family was saved by the young man in front of them. So no matter what they think in their hearts, at least they are very kind on the surface. After all, who can guarantee that their family members will not get sick? The profession of doctor has a very high status in any era. After a simple greeting, Lin Yilong hosted a meal at a top restaurant that was not open to the public. Everyone was young, so after dinner, there were naturally some entertainment activities. When Suyi returned to the hotel after playing, it was already evening. As soon as he returned to the hotel, he sent a message to Zhaoyan. Zhaoyan immediately called him back. "Boss, Su, are you done?" "Yes, how is the work going?" "It's all done. The batch of food you ordered has been delivered to the warehouse we booked in advance. You can go there to deal with it when you are free," Zhaoyan said quickly. Then there is the press conference. The preheating arrangements are almost done. The Shanghai Exhibition Center has also been booked and rented in advance. The venue is being arranged now. There will be absolutely no problem holding the press conference the day after tomorrow. "Okay, I'm sure you can do it. You've worked hard these days. You can take a break after this press conference." Suyi smiled. "Boss Su, what are you talking about? You treat me so well. It's only natural for the company to handle it. I dare not say that you have worked hard. As for vacation, the company may be busy in the next few days. I can only thank Boss Su for his kindness. Obviously, as a professional manager, Zhao Yan knows what kind of employees the boss likes. Don't rush to refuse. Didn't I say that you can choose the time yourself and take a vacation whenever you think it's appropriate? Su Yi smiled, but didn't dwell on this issue point. In fact, a few days ago, after Old Man Lin helped him to settle the registration of the medical company, Su Yi had already sent Zhao Yan to the Magic City point. The purpose was naturally to let him preheat the company's products in advance, and at the same time, prepare a grand press conference to thoroughly promote the Water of Life point. Fire the first shot of the establishment of the medical company point. In fact, to be honest, Su Yi now has many companies under SYNOPSIS holdings, from farms to military industry, to medical care, and an empty shell of SYNOPSIS technology point. In addition to these, Su Yi also acquired several factories that previously produced sports equipment such as compound bows. In the name of SYNOPSIS holdings there are countless bits and pieces, but strictly speaking, these companies are all money losing goods at present point. They all rely on Su Yi's blood transfusion to survive point. There is nothing listed for sale in the market point. Naturally, there is no profit point. The Water of Life, which is officially ready to be sold, is the first product of all subsidiaries under SYNOPSIS holdings, and it is bound to be a popular product point. Of course, the momentum must be made big. A good wine needs no bush point. Although Zhao Yan is nominally the general manager of SYNOPSIS Ecological Farm, he is the only person under Su Yi who can do this. Naturally, he can only do these things. Zhao Yan not only did not feel that he was exploited by the boss, but also did 2 jobs with 1 salary point. On the contrary, he was very happy point. What does this mean? This shows that the big boss trusts him and relies on him. He has been managing Farm B these days, and he is almost bored point. After all, the management of the farm and the transactions involved are usually not so complicated, and it really doesn't take much energy point. And as the crops in these farms matured and were sold, the idle land was used by Su Yi to plant new magic plants, and there were even fewer places where he was needed point. The thing that worried him the most was Su Yi's unreasonable request for purchasing food, which he had to do point. This was basically not a big deal point to name. He controlled a huge farm worth hundreds of millions, but in fact, as the general manager, he had nothing to do and did nothing every day point. For Zhao Yan, this was a very dangerous signal point. He felt guilty for taking millions of dollars a year without doing anything point. This time, Su Yi entrusted him with an important task, which made him feel relieved point. It's better to be busy point. If you have something to do, you don't have to worry about being laid off one day point. And after understanding the effects of these waters of life, Zhao Yan, who had seen Su Yi constantly expanding the scale of the group, but had no income, and was afraid that the company would not be able to survive, and he would be unemployed again one day, also breathed a sigh of relief point. As one of the few senior executives, he has certainly seen how magical the Water of Life is. It can even bring back dying people point, and there are no side effects. He dare not imagine how big the market prospects of this magic medicine will be in the future point. In Zhao Yan's view, with the Water of Life in hand, no matter how much money Su Yi spends, the company will never go bankrupt point. He is naturally more passionate about work. By the way, Mr. Su, we have promoted the efficacy of the Water of Life according to your requirements, and it has caused quite a stir on the internet. If you have time, you can pay attention to it and give us some guidance. Chapter 50. Su Yi became interested after hearing Zhao Yan's words. He didn't come up with any more high-sounding name for the Water of Life, and the name after the subsequent listing was also the Water of Life point, so it was not difficult to find the corresponding entry on the internet point. He immediately opened a certain audio and quickly found a video with millions of likes and nearly a million comments. The video was actually only a few dozen seconds long, and the content was very simple point. It was probably a couple, both of whom were only children. They had to support the elderly in both families and raise their children. The pressure was not small point, but they both got different cancers. Because they were busy with work, they didn't pay attention to their health in the early stage, so when they were diagnosed with cancer, it was already in the late stage and almost impossible to save. The first 10 seconds briefly introduced the situation of the couple, and instantly made countless social animals who also had elderly parents and children and their families empathize with them. Many people dare not think about what they would do if they encountered such a situation. It was too desperate. The second half of the video was the clip where the two were found by the staff of Shire Medical. The video is a template of picture plus text introduction, so naturally the details will not be too clear. It only mentions that Shire Medical claims to have developed a drug that can treat various cancers and even strengthen the body. Patients with advanced cancer are required to cooperate in drug testing. Whether the drug trial is successful or unsuccessful, the couple can each receive a bonus of no less than 3 million. If their condition is aggravated or even leads to their death during the drug trial, Shire Medical will pay 10 million per person. The final result is of course a complete success. The final diluted version of the water of life produced by Shire Medical that can be marketed is far less effective than what Suyi gave to old man Lin and the little girl from the Shen family. But it still works, even after seeing the effect of the water of life. The professional doctor invited by Shire Medical suggested taking it orally and intravenously. In fact, the water of life required to cure a patient with advanced cancer is even less than Yuling estimated. Once this result was released, it naturally caused an uproar on the internet. Of course, most people did not believe it. The reason why there are so many comments in the comment area of this video is naturally because there are a lot of debates. Otherwise, the ratio of likes to comments would not be so high under normal circumstances. In fact, it is shocking that patients with advanced cancer can be cured in a short period of time and make them full of energy. It is normal that no one believes it. The reason why there are so many debates is mainly because of the account that released this video. Jiaozhou News, Jiaozhou's most authoritative official news media. No matter how outrageous and unbelievable things are, they will obviously cause large-scale debates when they are released on this account. Many people did not believe it at first, but when they saw that this was the news released by Jiaozhou's official account, they had to believe it. Here Suyi couldn't help but sigh that the Lin family is really well connected. They were able to persuade Jiaozhou News official account to repost this report. Yes, repost. The original video was released by Shire Medical's newly established official account on a certain audio platform. The video is nearly an hour long and starts from the perspectives of the couple's physical condition, family situation, etc. There are also various details of the treatment process, as well as detailed records of the patient's physical condition at each stage. After drinking the water of life. It can be said to be quite professional. Most people can't understand it at all, but if a serious doctor can watch the whole process patiently, he will definitely say it's awesome. And there is more than one medical record video under this account. There are more than 100 long videos, each of which is different, but the final result is a perfect cure. These are made by the team that was temporarily found by the newly established Shire Medical. It has to be said that there must be brave men under a big reward. From the establishment of the company to the completion of these things, the whole process only took 2 or 3 days. That is to say, the water of life is really awesome. The speed of treatment is extremely fast, and it doesn't even take a day to cure a patient. Plus Suyi's treatment for employees is really good. So it can be done so quickly. If it were other companies, they would not think about getting so many documentary materials to endorse their own products without a year or 2. The short video released by Jiaozhou News was just a random video from the documentary materials here, and then simplified into a short video. Originally, these videos released by Shire Medical basically had no traffic. After all, in this fast-paced internet, no one wants to watch such boring long videos, but under the traffic of the video released by Jiaozhou News, a large number of people soon found the source of the video. Although many people verbally said they didn't believe it, they even scolded Shire Medical for being unscrupulous, taking advantage of others' blood, and even trying to cheat cancer patients' money. But after watching several documentaries released by Shire Medical, They still chose to follow it. The comment area of the latest video under this account was flooded with a large number of cancer patients or their families. They asked when this water of life would be available in batches and how much it would cost. Compared to the netizens who seemed to be joining in the fun and questioning everything, the families and the patients themselves were the ones who were most concerned about whether the water of life was useful. Their mentality was similar to that of Shen Mingwen, who initially sought Su Yi's help to save his daughter when the modern medical system had already declared a death sentence for them. A water of life that claimed to be able to treat cancer suddenly appeared. Who wouldn't want to try and see if it was useful? As for money, only when you are alive can you talk about money. Su Yi clicked on some other social software. It was found that the water of life was on the hot list of major social software platforms. Obviously, this has caused a sensation on the internet to a certain extent. On a small broken website, there were even professionals who made a comprehensive analysis of the documentaries released by SYNOPSIS Medical and then concluded that the water of life that could treat cancer was very likely to be real. No matter from which angle, this was an extremely successful marketing point in a short period of time. SYNOPSIS Medical and the water of life gained great fame on the internet. At this time, Zhao Yan, who had contacted Su Yi, also asked the marketing department to send out the pre-prepared product launch video. In fact, from the perspective of marketing, it is not very professional to release the product immediately when the popularity is so high. This seems to be too obvious, which will make many believers doubt whether this thing is really good or just hyped. However, the boss Su Yi asked so, and the people below can only do it. Moreover, with the efficacy of the water of life, these negative effects and rumors can indeed be ignored. As long as enough attention is guaranteed, no matter others question or scold, the market will give the answer in the end. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.